Remember, you are the dream awakening to itself. Aloha, dreamers, shifters, multidimensional friends within this beautiful holographic matrix of light. This is Brendon, and you are tuned in for another very exciting, educational, and inspirational live broadcasted edition of Paradigm Shift Central Dream Class. Today for the very special and synchronistic new moon of September 19th. Right around the corner from the equinox. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this. We are just getting things started. And if I can just get some quick 1111s in the YouTube chat to confirm that you guys can hear me okay, we're going to get things rolling. And I'll do some basic introductions in terms of what to be able to expect from this broadcast. Well, right at the top, inviting you guys to be able to join the broadcast. So that's a very, very, very important part of these broadcasts, is that they are collaborative community discussions. So we are inviting you guys to help co-create these broadcasts, to co-create these discussions, to see them as a virtual, digital, sacred talking circle. So of course, for Dream Class, this is going to be talking a lot about dreams, lucid dreaming, consciousness, mindfulness, meditation, what it means to be a multidimensional being within this hyperdelic reality, and all sorts of very interesting stuff, while also tapping into the core themes of how to be able to step into our potential as co-creators within this dream. What does it mean to be the dream awakening to itself? So this is also a chance for us to be able to document the ongoing shift in consciousness through the things that are happening within our dream space, which I think is very, very, very exciting in itself. So the idea that, you know, we're living our physical lives, we're building things with our hands, we're creating things, and we're sharing things, and we're doing all this stuff. And then parallel to this experience, there's the part of us that is equally experiencing things within the dream space. And it is through there that our soul continues to grow and evolve and experience real experiences on these other planes of existence, on these astral planes, as they're referred to. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you do happen to be listening to this on my Facebook parallel feed, reminding you guys to jump over to the YouTube feed. And of course, just inviting you guys, please help share this broadcast and invite your friends to be able to join in. That is an incredibly important part. Because of the way Facebook works, things are becoming incredibly more just like unnecessarily complicated when it comes to sharing broadcasts. So everything that you guys can do to be able to help invite people, as well as familiarize yourself with the schedule through the Paradigm Shift Central website, to be able to sync up with future broadcasts. So just in terms of some things right off the top, and then what I'm going to do, again, while waiting for other people to join, I have some stuff that I'm going to read. I'm going to talk a little bit about like any sort of dream stuff that I want to be able to share with you guys from personal experiences that I can talk about relative to recent recall and things like that. Well, also, yeah, just again, waiting for other people to join so we can ask them and talk to them about why dreams are important to them. But I'll be reading the books soon about lucid dream, like dream yoga and stuff from the Toltec path. So stay tuned for that, because honestly, if no one else joins, this may be an episode where I just end up reading to you guys from a book for a little bit, which is okay, because that's a good backup plan to have. So again, guys, if you guys are completely new to the project, ParadigmShiftCentral.com is a real-world interactive game to help shift consciousness. Part of the way how we do that is by creating consciousness shifting media, such as these interactive team broadcasts. And on the website, you'll see things such as community videos, quest journals, conscious articles, and future interactive hangouts that anyone is welcome to be a part of. All you got to do is create your profile on the main website to get involved. And through there, you'll see lots more. There's the shift teams, there's ongoing collaboration. And of course, we are always encouraging people to create physical paradigm shift communities where they are. So again, imagine the discussions that we're having here today. Imagine how you can have the same discussion if you create an open-minded discussion meetup group in your community, and referring to it as a paradigm shift community or not. You invite people out and see what happens when we start talking about dreams, when we start talking about like these things again that we don't normally get a chance to talk about, and we become mirrors for each other's growth. So coming up, just as a heads up for those of you listening live and who want to be synced up with future broadcasts, today we're doing this on Tuesday because there was a glitch in the server last week when we were originally going to do it on September 14th, which is a regular broadcast of a Thursday. And but again, synchronistically, coincidentally, it pushed this onto the 19th, which again is the new moon, which I think is a pretty cool day to be able to talk about dreams as per usual. The next broadcast that we got coming up on Thursday, September 21st, which again will be the equinox, is the Paradigm Shift Community Admin Meeting. So the Paradigm Shift community admin meeting is a thing that you want to be able to check out if you are interested in creating a paradigm shift community where you are. So paradigm shift communities, again, are something that anybody can create. And that is something that we are always encouraging people to be able to feel inspired to do, to be able to help build the tribe. So if you're interested in creating those communities, you're interested in just being able to learn more about what it means to be a leader within the paradigm shift, within the conscious shift, and you're feeling that call, then tune in for the admin meeting for that. So sweet. Okay, shout out to everyone who's tuned in through the YouTube live chat. Again, I'll do my best to kind of relay communication with you guys there, but at this point, reminding you guys, inviting you guys to join the Hangout. So if you're looking to join these Hangouts or any other Hangout in the future of the broadcast, go to the main website link in the info for this, and from there, click the button that says join the Hangout now. And if you are signed up on the website, I always do my best to make it easy for you guys. So I also send a link to your email with the direct link to be able to join the Google Hangouts through there. So you guys should be able to see that when you get a chance. So yeah, we'll keep moving along with things, and I know people will be joining in as we go, but again, so as we do have a couple people joining in right now, so we're just getting things situated, and yeah, we'll be able to roll into things as more people join. So again, the intention behind this class, as I just kind of anchor things in, and we'll introduce some of the new players that recently joined. Again, the intention behind this class is to be able to practice talking about dreams, to be able to create discussion that will help bring in more accountability for our own practice. Because I feel in terms of like this bigger paradigm shift and this shift in consciousness, this awakening to what it means to be a human here on Earth, what it means to be a multidimensional being, I feel that it's very, very important for us to be able to anchor into those dream practices. Because again, as we awaken within our dreams, we continue to awaken to our potential within this physical reality as co-creators of this extension of the dream, of this dream in itself. So again, these ongoing broadcasts, and again, stay tuned for more dream class. That's the idea. They're going to be about helping build that consistency, build that integrity, build that community support and that accountability, so that we can continue to come back to future dream classes and say like, hey, you know, like, this is what I was talking about last week. I've been doing some work, and here's what I have to talk about this week. And it gets really interesting when the dreams start getting very multidimensional. You know, when we get people talking about, you know, communicating with higher dimensional entities, talking to aliens, traveling to like inner Earth, like even just talking about some of the dynamics of the dream space. You know, things such as being able to communicate with loved ones who have passed on, the non-temporal nature of the dream space, the different abilities that you can do while you're lucid, how to achieve lucidity within your dream space. And I will say at this point, for those of you who aren't familiar, I mean, you know, I kind of come into this with the role of the of kind of like the everyday man, because I'm not like a super like expert in terms of dreams and lucid dreaming. You know, I have to do work to be able to achieve lucid dream and good recall, just as many of us have to do. A lot of us will have it come to them. And some of us will have it come to them just with natural instinct, or just like a natural ability where, you know, they'll just be like, oh yeah, you know, I can have lucid dreams like once a week or something like that. Other people, it takes a different type of practice. So yeah, I'm coming in from that habit where like I notice when I'm not focusing on my dreams, and I notice the impact of it. So for me to be able to really reap the full benefits of my dreams, it takes a degree of my own willpower and a degree of my own consistency. So again, like me being here is to be able to invite myself into this accountability so that we can continue to show up within our dreams. Because again, there's a big part of us as a spirit that is present within our dreams. So by awakening within our dreams, we allow ourselves to awaken to more of ourselves. We allow ourselves to know more of who we are. We allow ourselves to see, you know, the decisions we make, the choices we make, the characters we fulfill within our dream space. So what I want to be able to do, I want to be able to pass the talking stick around. So we do have a couple people who have joined into the class, and we'll go around with the basic question of just what brings you to dream class. You know, so the basic idea is like, what do you like? What about dreams interests you? And we'll do that. We'll go around. So again, you know, my name is Brendon, and why I'm interested in dreams is because I feel that through the exploration of the topic of dreams, it helps us awaken to more of our understanding as multidimensional beings and so forth and so on. And in addition to everything else that I've kind of just said before this. So let me just kind of set things up real quick here, and give me just 1 second, guys. I'm just going to send a quick link to another friend real quick, and then we'll get I think we're gonna get Hector. If you're there, if you can hear me, okay, just raise your hand real quick, and I think if you're cool with that, hey Hector, we'll get you to introduce yourself to begin the class, and then we'll pass the talk and stick around, and then we'll just kind of keep going from there. So again, guys, as we get into this, if you're watching this live or in the future, please feel free to help share this broadcast. And one of the ways to do that is by sharing it in Facebook groups, sharing it on your social media pages. Again, even if it's in the future, it's greatly appreciated. You never know how far these broadcasts can go. And again, this is just the beginning, guys. So we'll do the introductions. I'll read some stuff at some point, and we'll keep going through the discussion. And this broadcast will be about 2 hours long. And by the end, we'll do a closing meditation around the dream tree to bring us into that shared dream space. And we'll talk more about that intention as we go. So Hector, I'm gonna bring your microphone up, and as I do, I'll just allow you to introduce yourself. You can just say who you are, where you're from, and what brings you to dream class. So Hector, let's just check your microphone real quick. So Hector, do you want to just say hello real quick? Just check your microphone.
Hello.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
Sounds good, man. That's a beautiful microphone there. Sweet. Okay, so Hector, thank you for joining us for dream class, and we'll pass the talking stick over to you, brother. So welcome, and tell us just who you are, where you're from, and what brings you to dream class. So go right ahead, brother.
Right on. Thanks, man. So my name's Hector, and I'm from Reno, Nevada. And I've been trying to join in on these hangouts for a while. It's just been difficult with life and time and work, but I'm here now. I have a group here in Reno that I started back in 2011 called Paradigm Shift Reno. And we had that for a while, probably about 3 years. And then life happened to a lot of the people attending, and it just slowed down a lot to where we stopped meeting for a couple of years. And then this year, just stuff came up, and synchronistically, I was able to get the group again going, and we're having another our first meeting again coming up here in October 11th at our local Reno Buddhist Center. And aside from that, I'm a Reiki master teacher. I've been practicing Reiki for about 2 years. Just came back from a session actually, which was amazing. Reiki business trying to get going, as well as the Paradigm Shift Central Reno. So that's what I'm doing here, and then I'm just trying to learn more about the dream class that you have set up here and what we have going on, and see if I can perhaps learn from you guys, as well as give my own input on my knowledge on the topic of dreams and lucid dreaming and astral projection and such. So it's really cool. Thanks for having me. I'm here in my RV with my family. You'll probably hear my kids running around. They're playing and having a good time. So we'll see how this goes and see how far I can hang out before I have to put my kids to bed, because right now here it's like 7 something, and they go to bed like at 8:30 for school. So I'll hang out as long as I can with you guys. But thank you, Brendon. This is awesome, and I can't wait to meet everybody else here. So thanks.
Awesome, sweet. Thank you, Hector. And I did just want to be able to ask you just like one more specific question about dreams, and then we'll pass the talk and stick around. So just basic question, why do you feel that it's important for people to study dreams, to study their dreams?
It's important because a lot of our answers for the questions that we seek can be found in our dreams. I believe that our dreams are just our conscious state, always open, always awake, always figuring things out. If we could be more focused on our dreams, we can probably be more sure of ourselves and what we want and what we aspire to get from life. I think our dreams help us realize that and help us find those answers. It's important to learn, I think.
Cool, awesome, man. And have you had much experiences with like lucid dreams or anything like that throughout your practices?
I've had couple of experiences on lucid dreaming. Um, they weren't very pleasant because when I had them, I wasn't fully on my woken path yet, so I really wasn't sure what to make of them. In hindsight, I can kind of make connections and see what kind of figure out what they meant. I don't attempt lucid dreaming a lot or astral projection just because my life is so busy with work and kids and business and trying to shift consciousness here. But that's definitely something that I've always wanted to get more into is lucid dreaming and astral projection, just to get more in touch with myself. Meditation is a great way to do that as well. It's like meditation is like sleeping while you're awake. So it helps. Meditation is another way that I try to connect with my dream state, if you want to call it that, while not dreaming. So those are kind of my experiences with that.
Totally. Awesome, man. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Just being able to work with them with meditation is a great way to be able to flex the imagination, which directly just like bleeds over into our dream practices. Because, yeah, you know, I feel the more we actively like work with just like expanding our imagination and just being creative throughout the day and daydreaming and things like that, it's interesting to just think about how that would naturally affect our dream processes when we're like in a dream and we're like, and then we're falling. But then if we have like a good imagination, you could like quickly like summon yourself like a jetpack and fly yourself to safety or something like that. It's, you know, like imagination is like a muscle and it takes reflexes to sort of be able to develop over time. So meditation practices is one way to do that. So cool. Hector, is there anything else you just wanted to add at the top of the introduction before we pass the talking stick around?
No, so far I just can't wait to meet everybody else and see what everybody else has to say. This is a really cool topic. There's so much that we can learn and take from this, and just excited to see what comes from this. So let's see what y'all have to say.
Awesome. Thanks, man, and thank you again for your recent support through the team Patreon. Hector's got a shifter booster kit coming his way, and he's going to be using those. You're using those this weekend. There's like an event that you guys got going on. That was the plan? Was it, with the free hugs and shift buttons?
Yes, we have the Reno Sparks Pagan Pride, the first one this year, being hosted at one of the parks here. So we were able to get a booth for that event, and I'm going to promote my business, Chakra Tree Reiki, as well as the Reno Earth Day program that we have here, where we celebrate Earth Day yearly. And I'm also going to be passing out the shift buttons and the free hugs. I'll have that up and promoting the group that I have here, Paradigm Shift Central Reno, and try to get that rolling again. So the purpose of this booth at this event is for me to promote my business, my Reiki business, as well as the local group that I have, the Paradigm Shift Reno Central. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Sweet. Looking forward to hearing how that goes, and that's wonderful, man. So thanks again for all you're doing. Go team.
Thanks for your help.
Thanks, man. Sweet. All right, guys. So we'll keep passing the talking stick around, and we got a couple of players here. We have Star Witch, and we have Dayne, and we also have Timlord as well. So maybe I'll just kind of let you guys decide who would like to introduce themselves next. Again, the basic idea of just like who you are, where you're from, and what brings you to dream class, and why do you feel it's important for us to study dreams. So if one of you guys wants to even just raise your hand, or Star Witch, just comment in the chat, and I'll let you guys decide. If maybe unless Dayne wants to volunteer, maybe Dayne wants to volunteer to go. Dayne, do you want to volunteer?
Hey everybody.
Hey man. All right, Dayne, we'll pass the talking stick right over to you, dude. So again, just who you are, where you're from, and what brings you to dream class, and why is it important for us to study dreams?
Okay. Oh, just so you know, Star Witch, your mic is working, because I think you just asked that. Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. So yeah, I'll go. My name is Dayne. I live in the United States. I live in Berkshire Mountains of Western Massachusetts. It's like about halfway between New York City and Boston. And I guess I've been affiliated with Paradigm Shift Central ever since you did the chat with Bridget, actually, Brendon. That was the first time that I heard about you. And yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't know me, I'm really, really passionate about shifting consciousness through art and through creation, like creative endeavors. So that includes, music primarily, predominantly. That's really like my, I don't know, I suppose my most refined and focused craft. And I perform, both locally and around the world, and put out music online on Bandcamp and SoundCloud under the name Starseed. You can find my stuff at starseedmusique.com, like the French word for music. And also soundcloud.com/starseed, starseed.bandcamp.com for those of you guys that are curious. I also do graphic design and things like that. A lot of my own album artwork. And suppose what brings me to Dream Class is just, the fascination with the realms that we access in those states of consciousness. Because I believe that, whenever we're dreaming, it's no more or less real than when we're awake. It's just that we're dialing our consciousness into like a different band of the frequency spectrum, if you want to look at it that way. And I personally have had many experiences that I suppose could be categorized to a few more or less specific qualities or states or categories. Because for me, I've had like a lot of experiences and continue to have experiences on ships, like with extraterrestrial beings, higher dimensional beings. And in those states, when I'm interfacing with the ship's reality, it's markedly different than when I'm experiencing a dream that's like a projection of just my own individual contents of consciousness, if that makes sense. Like, for instance, if I'm interfacing with like someone who is more a projection of my own consciousness, it's very, very different than when I'm interfacing with literally another conscious being, like lucidly. So there's the ship's reality, there's my own dream reality, and then there's also something in between, I guess, or just like different, I don't know, like phases or yeah, once again, like bands, like bandwidth band. And of course, there are an infinite number of dimensions and densities to explore in those states, while we're sleeping. But some people would even go as far as to promote the idea that our dreams are the reality and here is the dream. Like maybe it's more reflective of the truth of reality when we're in those states than when we're here, just because the nature of existence is ever changing and fluid and dynamic and malleable and flexible. The nature of consciousness is malleable and fluid and dynamic and flexible and all this stuff. And those realms are way more flexible and fluid than this more, dense realm. So it's an interesting postulation, certainly one that I'm willing to entertain. But anyways, just my 2 cents, I suppose, for now. Yeah, so I'll hand the talking stick off to somebody else, unless anybody has any questions or anything.
Cool, thanks, Dayne. That's good. That's good for now. And yeah, if there are any recent dreams that you've got to share, some good stories that you'd want to practice relaying. It's interesting because I know, like, again, oftentimes, like when we're like for you or for anyone, when we're talking about dreams, it can be a very interesting way to just be able to help practice the recall process in the first place. Because sometimes, you know, when you do have a friend who you can communicate your dreams with as like a habit, and this is like a, you know, practical tip is to try and find a person like that, like in the physical dimension, who you can say like, hey, you know, like, how were your dreams last night? How were your dreams last night? Then you're kind of creating a habit of that, because like as that routine builds, you'll find that just through being able to reconceptualize your dream experience into a story, into like some sort of linear form, it could actually trigger an initial or additional memories of that event. And I know, like, I've had that, and people have talked about that, and they'll be like telling me about a dream, and as they're telling me it, they're like, oh my God, like I'm remembering it, like as I'm telling you it, like I can see that like illuminated hallway again or something like that. And then they can even pick up on like additional details or things. I don't know, Dayne, was there anything you had in response to that, or wasn't?
Yeah, something I was gonna say is something that I find to be very useful for dream recall is like writing things down the moment that I wake up. Like writing down like a sensation that I felt, or a word that I heard, an idea that was conveyed to me, or just the details of the imagery that I was exposed to or that I beheld. All those things are really helpful. And then you'll actually like literally train yourself to do that in the dream state, if that makes sense. Like I'll find myself like being in a dream within a dream within a dream, waking up from one dream and then like writing down the details, and then like realizing that I'm dreaming when I'm doing that. And it's just like the layers get so like meta. It's really funny. But yeah, you can really go deep with this stuff. I mean, the possibilities are endless. They're only as limited as I don't know, our ability to imagine and conceptualize and just be open to what can unfold in these states, you know.
Totally.
The consciousnesses that we can interface with, be they ET or fairy or dragon or, you know, Sasquatch, all this kind of stuff. I've had experiences with all of it. I'm sure a lot of us have. So I know I'm not the only one. So yeah, it's
Totally.
super interesting.
Totally, man. Well, maybe there's a little bit later on, if there's any in particular, like some dreams that you might be able to share with us about some experiences you've had with entities of those nature, like any sort of like fairies, or I mean, obviously like ETs, or I'm not sure if you've run into Sasquatches in your dreams and stuff,
Yeah.
but all right, maybe you can.
It's all just very playful, to be honest.
Totally. All right. Well, maybe you got, if you're sticking around for a bit, I'd love to be able to invite you to share a little bit about that as we keep going. So cool, man. Cool. That's awesome. Sweet. So Dayne, thanks again. And for those of you who may be just curious as to how to connect with Dayne, we'll be having his information into the show notes as well as for anybody else within this broadcast. So even Hector as well, for anybody looking to connect with them, just be sure to check the info for the YouTube the day afterwards to find the links, or the original link on the main website, again, for the dream class of September 19th. So one thing I just want to let you guys know is that we're talking about recall here. We're talking about dream recall. That's such an important part of just like the dream exploration process. You know, some of the three main pillars that we kind of talk about, and we've talked about it in previous dream classes, but again, we have to assume that there's going to always be people tuning in for the first time. So that's why we're always kind of going back, and we're always kind of like revisiting some of these main core themes. But some of the basic things that you want to be able to work on if you're interested in exploring more of your dreams are writing down your dreams, practicing meditation, and doing reality checks. So those together create a very powerful trifecta. And so again, you know, you're writing down your dreams so that the more you write down your dreams, the more you're going to be able to write down your dreams. So essentially, as you write down your dreams now, which may be in little tiny details, that's getting you ready to be able to write down those bigger dreams that are yet to come. Because you have to sort of like imagine that the universe is very well aware of when we start investing into our dreams. And as we do, you know, there's kind of like that higher part of ourselves that's like, oh, good, they're starting to pay attention. Let's start giving them more to play with. Let's start giving them more to investigate in that sense. So start writing down your dreams now in point form notes if that's what works for you, knowing that that's in preparation for those expanded like recalls that you're going to have a little bit down the road. One thing that we're doing to help with that on the website, for those of you who already have your profiles, you can check out the Paradigm Shift teams. And one of the shift teams is actually the Dream class. And within the Dream class, we have a thread going on right now that is inviting people to collectively just like use that thread, that forum, as a place to be able to share their point form dream notes. So if you haven't checked that out yet and you already have your profile, go to the Dream class and just check that out. And so again, that's something I created for myself to use as well as everyone. So it's a place where, you know, you can just go and without having to write out full sentences of what your dream was, you can literally just write out, you know, point form notes, phrases, feelings, colors, you know, places, people, events, whatever it is that works for you. But just knowing that that place is there to collectively get those ideas, you know, up and available, not only for yourself, whatever you're comfortable for sharing, but also to create this bigger picture where we can look at it, our dreams as a collective dream, and we can start to see these interweaving themes and similarities. Like that's kind of the experiment in this, is that, you know, it's one thing for us to write down our dreams as individuals, but what happens when we start sharing more of our dreams, even in point form notes as a collective, and we start to see this bigger story, these common themes, these common elements, and even this subtle language that is sort of consistent throughout many dreams. So again, check out the Dream class if that's something that you guys are interested in. So again, thank you to Dayne, and we'll keep passing the talking stick around. And yeah, let's keep doing that, guys. And I'll get to reading some of the stuff from the book a little bit later, but we'll just go through the introductions and we'll just keep going with the flow here. So let's see. In terms of the other people here, we do have Elliot, and we have Star Witch, and we have Timlord. If one of you guys wants to introduce yourselves next, just raise your hand, let me know, and we'll pass the talking stick over to you. And again, it's just a basic introduction of just who you are, where you're from, if you want to share that, and what brings you to Dream class. So maybe Elliot can be the next person to volunteer for that. I think so. So sweet. Elliot, I'm just gonna bring up your microphone. So dude, welcome back. Good to see you. And again, just who are you, where are you from, and what brings you to Dream class? Why are dreams important to you, you know? So
yo
yo, man.
They call me Liz B, the tree mind. From Kingston. I'm living in Tofino, Ontario, folks. It's on a ley line, if you want to know that. It's pretty awesome. Radical place. Dreams are literally more of reality than reality is to me. So I'm a very subconscious-based human being. My dreams are purely interactions that make more sense to me than the life I live. I don't know if that's weird, but, you know. Also very inspiring things. I feel like I've been lucid dreaming since I was a child. It's been something that's very, it's a communication that needs to happen for me on a nightly basis, so I can like actually interpret what's happening in life, because things move really fast around here.
Word, man, word. And so why would you think, you know, if you're explaining to like some younger person who maybe hasn't looked into dreams before, why would you explain to them that it's important for us to be curious about our dreams and to, you know, practice our dream exploration?
Because it's an infinite world within this finite world that we've chose to label as finite. The more that you realize about infinity, the more that you realize your reality can be infinite within itself. There are more possibilities than just one for every single situation and feeling and emotion you think. And why start tripping on drugs? You can just trip on your mind.
That's a good selling point right there. Absolutely. Again, you know, a lot of people are living this life, and they're constantly kind of like in a natural state where they're seeking those moments of awe. There's moments of just like, oh my God, this is, you know, something more. And so state the obvious, a lot of people can experience those through psychedelics, but through psychedelic plant medicines or things like that. But keeping in mind, it's very interesting when you realize that dreams in themselves are a psychedelic experience that we're naturally having every single night. So what happens when we can be more present for them? So I mean, that's part of the idea with dreams, is that, again, when you go to sleep and if you don't wake up and remember your dreams, that doesn't mean you didn't dream. We have to sort of understand that, or at least this is a basic idea. You guys tell me what you think, maybe, that every night when we go to sleep, you know, like our soul, if that's what we're calling it, is literally going through this whole narrative, this whole landscape, this whole experience that could, you know, within a relative concept, last for several hours, if not days, perhaps even years and lifetimes sometimes. And again, you know, this is sort of like us kind of naturally having those psychedelic states, but kind of even as Dayne and Lizzie and everyone here has kind of alluded to, you know, to sort of refer to it as a psychedelic experience doesn't negate the fact that it's less real. If anything, it sort of points to the idea that it is in some ways more quote unquote real than this physical reality, which again appears to be the way it is due to the fact that there's so many filters in place within it. And oftentimes when we're talking about psychedelics, which run very parallel to the topic of dreams, those often sort of relate to the idea of pulling back the filters. So again, you know, when we go to sleep at night, we're in the place where we have the opportunity to see the world as it is, to pull back those filters. Yeah, even still within the dream space, there appear to be many additional filters, which sort of create the dynamics of how the dream space appears to us as an infinite reflection of ourselves. And that's a very important thing to realize, is that within the dream space, it seems to be that everything there is us. Everything there is a reflection of us. But then, you know, and this is something that I'd love to talk to you guys about. It seems to go beyond that, where sometimes, you know, you'll see a character in a dream and it's not necessarily another character as much as it is you projecting another character. Yet sometimes there appear to be like other separate conscious entities that have their own sovereignty that come up and they'll be able to interact with you. And this is where we get into the bigger ideas of the dream space actually being like this internal, natural, spiritual internet. It's like a hub that we connect to as a collective. And the dreams that we have are not just something within our individual minds, which is, again, sort of the common narrative that mainstream culture will tell us. But when we go to sleep every night, we're actually kind of like in uploading ourselves, uploading our consciousness, reconnecting our consciousness into this collective spiritual internet, which is the astral planes or the dream space, or that interconnected web that is unseen yet ever present throughout all places within this reality, beyond just the physical. So yeah, it's very interesting to just think about, again, you know, if people are like really looking for what this reality has to offer, it's right there behind your eyelids. So that's one way to think about it, at least. Lizzie B, was there anything else you want to share in this moment as we just kind of go through introductions, or you know, if there's any stories that you want to set up for later, and you can share those later as well? Go ahead.
Just one thing.
Go ahead, dude.
I'm gonna go watch this sunset because I still have sun here right now. But
Nice.
Before I go, like, I've been having been blessed to meet a really awesome person that I've been working with all summer. Alan, a very smart individual who's very connected astrology-wise. But he's been reconfirming things that I've felt within inside myself for so long and started to doubt. But he's explained to me that Earth is actually the emotional planet, and potentially the only emotional planet within our galaxy and any other galaxy that we can comprehend at this moment in time. And that being that, it puts a lot of importance for us to feel these emotions and the depths that we do. And the reason that we feel so deeply is because this has such a dramatic effect across the universe. Because if this planet is the only planet that can feel emotions, when we go to sleep, we're trying to make sense of these emotions that we felt all day. But when you go to sleep, you're tapping into the ether, right? And that's just putting that in there. It's just putting more code and putting more code. So if we can feel more, go to sleep, push all those feelings out, right? All these beings around are now learning about feelings and how to be emotional and how to be empathetic. And it's not so much about black and gray, but every single color within the rainbow and that indigo that we still neglect to see. But I'll be back. Just gotta watch the sun.
All right, do it, man. Go race the sun, man. You got it.
I love you guys.
I love you, man.
Love you too, man. Thank you.
Awesome. It's good to hear from Elliot. He's been a local buddy, but again, he's living out on the West Coast from now, so it's nice to be able to connect to him. Okay, guys, so let's keep bouncing around. And I do kind of want to just tackle the topic together as we just go through the introductions again, of just kind of like explaining what are dreams, you know, just from a very base level, so that we can understand things. Again, you know, assuming that maybe people are tuning in for the first time, or at the very least just practicing to see what we answer with when asked that question. When we ask ourselves, you know, if we were to ask ourselves, what are dreams? What's our simple answer that we give for that, or our not so simple answer? So let's keep bouncing around, and Star Witch or Time Lord, if one of you guys wants to introduce yourselves next, we'll just kind of check in. So Time Lord, I'm just gonna open up your microphone, then we'll do Star Witch after that. So Time Lord, if you're ready, we'll just pull your microphone up if you just want to check your microphone, just see if that's working okay.
Testing 1 2. Can you hear me?
Sounds okay. Sounds good. Perfect. Okay. Sweet. So go ahead, introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what brings you to Dream Class. And good to see you again, dude.
Okay. Hi. How you doing, everybody? My name is Tom. I live in Cape Coral, Florida. We just had that. You probably just heard we had that hurricane come through. So we're just kind of recovered from all that mess. So, but both of my PCs went down after the storm. But so I'm on my cell phone. But you were saying like in one word. I mean, dreams have so many purposes that I don't think we could mention them all. But the thing that comes to my mind, especially with kind of the fuss that we've been going through here, is that I like to give it they're a defragmentation of the mind. You know, it's those events that in our life, in our past lives, or even in our ancestor lives, that maybe weren't good decisions, or things that left emotional, little emotional hiccups here and there. So, you know, just in a quick nutshell, I mean, I think the main reason I come here and listen to this and get this information is, I'm doing some repair, emotional and defrag repair. You know, it's those fear aspects. We're afraid to talk to certain people, and we limit ourselves, and we have our disbelief and our doubt. And I had kind of a setback over the last few weeks. I've never been able to lucid dream that well. I've had enough good experiences to know it's true, and it's super beneficial. But I mean, I think understanding the dreams is how you understand consciousness. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is to be able to get into that dreamscape, into that dream scenario, and just see what really is possible. Because it's like a lot of people have said here, we are in a sort of waking dream ourselves. So, to me, the idea of that so many things are possible in the dreamscape, whatever that represents. I do it because I know that, or I hope that one day we can do, some pretty magical type things here in our, our immediate reality. But I don't have a lot to say about it. You guys, just a few people I've heard talking about it, kind of said what I wanted to say. So, it's just an ongoing thing. It's an improvement of your life. I just want to improve my reality, and I want to see what is possible, both in the dreams and in our physical state. So, I mean,
awesome.
I don't have a ton to say about it right now, but that's kind of what comes to mind.
That's perfect, Tom. Thank you again, man. That's great. And yeah, again, that's the idea, is that there's just to it's unfortunate that so many people will live their lives without the motivation to explore their dreams, because they're convinced through this narrative that there's not much point to it. They're not going to get much out of it. It's kind of like this extra thing, but it won't really impact their waking state. When in reality, again, it's quite the opposite, because just through studying dreams, not only do we expand our understanding of this entire reality of seeing beyond the illusions, but again, we understand ourselves, kind of as you were saying, beyond just this lifetime as well, which is a very, very powerful thing. Who are we as cosmic beings, right? We are much more than just who we happen to be in this physical incarnation at this time. And again, dreams are direct access to the bigger us, so if you're looking to figure out like who is, who are you kind of from the past, who may you be in the future, theoretically, all that is accessible through dreams. How powerful of an idea is that? You know, it's this incredibly, again, you know, I think of it as like this spiritual technology that is there for a purpose. Dreams are not just something that coincidentally exists. They seem to have a very intentional purpose from this perspective of soul, from the perspective of consciousness. And again, that purpose is to be able to allow ourselves to know ourselves, or allow ourselves to grow far more than what would just normally be possible, assuming if things were just the physical, so to speak. So cool. Tom, thanks again, man. And bonus points for rocking the shift button that you got on there, man. Much appreciated. So looking good, man. Awesome. Sweet. All right. We'll keep passing the talk and stick around. And again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. You guys help co-create this class, and it's always an honor and a pleasure to be able to do it alongside with such inspiring and such adamant community members, such awesome shifters. So Star Witch, we'll check in with you, and I'm just going to pull up your microphone to just make sure that things are sounding okay. So Star Witch, do you want to just check your microphone when you get a second here? And I think you might. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
It's actually not. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Check your microphone again.
I just moved forward some. Is that any better?
Yeah, it's a little bit better. It kind of sounds like it's like a little staticky, but that's okay. I'm just pulling it up on my end, but it is what it is, so that's fine.
Well, I got the fan going, so that might have something to do with it. I don't know.
If you want to try turning that off just for while you're talking, I can let you know real quick, and then we'll jump into it. So, but nonetheless, it'll be fine. So that's okay. All right, and
See if that works better.
cool. And Star Witch, aka Tony, welcome back, man. So we'll get things set up. All right. Okay. So
Go ahead. Volume up a little bit. Maybe that'll help. So.
Okay, all right, let me just pull that down. Okay, all right, let's just go with what we got. That's okay for now. So, okay.
All right.
Sweet. Okay, man. So you've been here before, so I'll just pass the talking stick over to you, and you can just introduce a little bit about just who you are, where you're from, and what brings you to Dream Class. So go right ahead, man.
Okay, yeah, I go by Star Witch. Originally it was Star Weaver, but I kind of didn't think people caught what Weaver was, so I just changed it to Witch. But my name's Tony. I've been practicing for some time. As far as Dream Class goes, I just really want to hear other people's ideas and like techniques and stuff like that. Think about as far as what dreams are, and for me, it's not only just in a book I read, but I also experienced it. And I would say that there's like 4 things that really happens. And there's probably more than that, but 4 major things that happen, predominant things that happens is like astral work, where you just go into a lucid state to work, like you said, like on like projections and stuff of that nature that you find within yourself. Of course, I'm trying to keep this short, so as far as like, there's also psychological messages that can happen, because the way that the subconscious communicates is through symbols. Science has recently understood this, so that's one thing that is really cool, that we're starting to catching up with stuff that's been a process and a technique and an exercise over the aeons, and even further than that possibly, as far as like how that we can communicate with our higher selves, holy guardian angels, the soul, as you mentioned earlier, or what have you, and the subconscious as well. But, at times it's just your mind at play. We're just having a good time in the astral and just kicking it, going and flying to Paris or Mars or some planet that we make up in our head and just populate it however we want to and say, okay, I'm God of this planet, until that person right there decides to do what they want and wake up. But at any rate, after that is all of them at the same time. Now that really gets interesting whenever it's like all those things happening at once. And that's why it's like, to me at least, it's important to not try to interpret necessarily as you're doing your journal entries, like a dream journal or what have you. I can't write when I first get up. So what I'll do is I'll record it. You know, I'll record it on, like, I've got this little MP3 player that I picked up from Walmart for nothing. But yeah, and just hook that up. That's got a little voice record on it. And one thing that's important in dreams also, as far as journaling, is you don't have to write everything down, like you said. Instances that occurs in that dream where you can, like, visions and stuff like that while you're talking about it, or even recording it. If you don't have the luxury to talk to somebody else about it, which I think that's a really cool idea, is like, hey, what was your dream about last night? Or what did you dream about last night? And you share that, and while doing that, you remember it a lot more. Well, those key words is really what I focus on whenever I record or I write down in a journal, because I'll read it later and those key words pop up and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. You know, so it is a way that you can remember your dreams a lot easier. Oh, that's another thing, remembering your dreams. I guess it's all in the wording maybe, but it's also, I guess it's a psychological message as well, to not say I didn't dream last night. You know, you might say I didn't choose to remember my dreams last night, but technically we all dream every night. So to say that you didn't dream is like really saying that, you know, you didn't do something you naturally do every night. So that's a good way to do it. You mentioned something about reality checks. One good way to do that is like to take your finger of one hand and poke it into your palm of your other hand and ask yourself if you're dreaming. I've had this happen before in a dream, and I did it, and my finger went through my hand. So that was a good key right there, a good clue that I was like dreaming. I was like, yep, okay, that would let me know that I'm dreaming. So, and if you keep a habit of that, eventually it does become a habit, and you can become lucid, like really quick in a dream, whenever you start putting your hand through your body. It's just kind of like, well, yeah, that's not something I would consider real. So, yeah. And when you mentioned that too, as far as reality and what actually is, and that's what word I like to use is actual, because actual, you know, to me, that's what actually is, and reality is our point of reference. You know, so we use that and have that point of reference as far as that goes, where is something that people are learning to deal with on a more subtle basis every day. And try to put words to, I mean, I hear this sci-fi speak about interdimensional vortexes and stuff like that. I was like, well, I call that my heart chakra. You know, or chakra, however you want to pronounce it. But don't miss out on the wisdom just because you might hear the word alien or extraterrestrial, because we are in a modern world now, and vortex is basically a wheel, and a wheel is a chakra, or a chakra, however you wish to pronounce it. I think it's important to also stress that just because people are saying, oh, these aliens or these intradimensional beings are in my dream, they're not, pardon the French, there are no offense, they're not whack jobs. They're just putting that information out there in a way that they can best understand it. And I think it's important to realize that. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say on it. Letting me have the talking stick, so I'll pass it on.
Awesome. Sweet. Thank you again, Tony. And yeah, absolutely. So again, you know, there's some good tips there where you're talking about with just like putting like the finger through the hand. And again, you know, like with any of the reality checks, the idea is that you're doing them throughout the day as a habitual thing. So maybe what you can do as a way to help is say, like, every time you walk through a door frame, you try putting your finger through your hand. You know, that could be like a simple example of how to be able to develop the habit of that. And then when you're in a dream, you'll walk through a door frame, and because you develop that mental cognition memory, then you'll try that within a dream. But again, within the dream, if you do that, it's very likely, yet not impossible, for your hand to go through. for your finger to go through your hand, which again then becomes a trigger for you to be able to be like, oh, wait a second, this is different, maybe I'm dreaming. And then again, you know, that's where you start to move into lucidity, which is something, you know, I think we'll talk a little bit more about within this broadcast. But my buffer here. Okay, go broadcast, go. All right, can you guys still hear me fine? All right, there we go. Okay, cool, we're back. All right, okay. What I was just gonna say though is that for any sort of reality check, be it like jumping and flying, or putting your finger through a wall, or putting your finger through your hand, or putting your finger through a wall, is that when you do it when you're awake, you want to do it with the intention for it to actually happen. So you want to, when you test it during the day by putting your finger through the palm of your hand, do it with the thought process of, this is, my finger is going to go through my hand right now, and then that will help when you're in the dream, and then you go to do it within your dream, and then it actually will go through your hand, opposed to just like getting caught up in the idea that you're still in the physical reality, and then it won't go through your hand because you haven't fully set your intention for what you're trying to do when you poke your finger to your hand. So yeah, again, there's lots of different reality checks. I'd love to be able to hear even from people in the YouTube chat of any other reality checks that you guys might want to suggest. So let's kind of open things up just in general. Again, you know, just going back to the general topic of you know, what are dreams? Like what are dreams to you guys? And I mean, I know we've kind of like touched upon this together, but I just want to be able to just like quickly dabble into this, and then we'll branch off from there into additional topics. But you know, again, if someone were to ask you, like say like a younger person who's kind of new to this stuff, or even an older person, give as simple as an answer or as an advanced as an answer as you feel called to give, what is something that would be something that you would share in that moment? And we'll just kind of open the talking stick up to anyone at this point. So again, we do have Hector and Starwitch, and I think Dayne might be AFK, and I think Tom is still there as well, but I'll let you guys just kind of jump in. Tony, Starwitch, go ahead. Let me just pull your microphone up.
Okay. Yeah. Just for a kid or an older person that really doesn't know the whole idea, like psychological stuff or the astral, it's a universe communicating, basically, in the deepest sense of the word. I don't really know any other way to put it other than maybe possibly it's a form of communication between higher and lower, quote unquote.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. That's cool, and absolutely, like it is definitely an ongoing conversation. It's the universe communicating to itself, and again, what's really powerful within dreams is that you realize that, you know, within dreams they communicate through the power of symbols, and again, you know, that's a big topic in itself, and that's why oftentimes within dreams people are talking about how symbols can relate to things, how they are you know, like almost like a nodal point to a deeper or to a more expanded topic or theme or concept. So I mean, yeah, I feel like I should like pull out a book that I have on kind of like a list of different examples of dream themes and dream symbols and stuff, if I can find that. If not, it's okay. But yeah, okay, let's keep passing talking stick around. Is that Tom? Did you want to? Is that Tom coming? Oh.
This is Tom here. I don't want to say a lot. I just want to say, you know, one quick statement for maybe some old school people, that, you know, to me, dreams, you know, in just a statement of dreams are the staircase to heaven. I mean, to place it simple. You know, it's much more complicated than that, but, you know, just to give you an idea, dreams they're the stepping stones, they're the ladder to heaven. I mean, however you want to, you know, as simple as that sounds. So that's all I wanted to say. Cool.
Thanks, Tom. I dig that, and absolutely, again, you know, because that brings up like the discussion of like what is heaven, you know, if we're referring to heaven as something that we would point to as these higher dimensional realms, these higher dimensional planes, then absolutely, the idea is that, you know, And how different would the world be if we if we actually sort of perceive that every night when we go to sleep we are like entering into a version of heaven, so to speak. But again, you know, like that is obviously something that is going to be very different for different people, because a lot of people who would be experiencing things that wouldn't be quite as pleasant would have a hard time arguing, you know, like be like, oh, I thought heaven was supposed to be, you know, like nothing but like bunnies and unicorns, and what's this about? But absolutely, but I agree. I hear what you're saying, that dreams in themselves are a staircase to be able to access heaven, to be able to access these realms, as much as they are, you know, a place where we can go into these deeper dimensions, these like thicker realms, that again, you know, as a topic can expand, you guys can talk about it as well, that are very real. And that's where, you know, like just the experiences that we have can often be related to nightmares and stuff. But that's where you get like these very, you know, like thick, dense dreams with like other like entities and stuff. So there's a full spectrum of what can be experienced through dreams. And kind of going back to even something that Dayne was saying a little bit earlier, and something I've talked about many times as a personal way of how I see it. You know, I think of dreams as being closer to the place where we're actually from. So it's not like we you know, are just here in the physical and we just happen to be dreaming about dreams. We just happen to be having dreams, but rather the dream space is actually more where we're from. That's closer to where we're from in terms of like these higher dimensional beings. And then, you know, we come into the physical incarnation, yet every night we're constantly returning to these higher planes within our dream space. But yeah, let's just keep bouncing around a little bit more, guys. And again, I want to be able to see if there's anybody even in the YouTube who wants to be able to take a crack at just exploring that question. And again, that's really what we're doing here, guys. We're just practicing. So the question being just, you know, what are dreams? So if you want to take a swing at that, please feel free to. And not sure if Hector is still there. Hector, if you're there, I just want to be able to check in if there's anything that you want to share.
Yeah,
go ahead, Hector. All right, cool.
Thanks. Your guys's definitions of dreams are very cool and interesting, and I like the stairway to heaven, you know, analogy. That's really cool. And if you guys are all right, I think it's dreams are, I think, all of that. Also, I think dreams might be a place for our subconscious to keep on existing throughout the day when we're asleep and out in our physical. I think the dreams that we have give our subconscious a chance to continue the day, if you want to put it that way, to continue doing what we can't do in the physical realm. Gives our spiritual counterpart the opportunity to accomplish what we can't accomplish in the physical. So I unfortunately can't hang out much longer. I'm gonna put my little ones to bed. However, I want to share just a little something that I practice with my family and with my little one. He's 6 years old, and I always tell him that it's important to pay attention to your dreams, because they give you messages, I think, and they tell you things that we sometimes don't understand when we're awake. And every time when I send them to sleep, I say, hey, I'll see you in your dreams. Just wait for me by the bright green tree. And that's been our thing for as long as I can remember me talking to him about dreams. Is if I always tell him, hey, I'm going to hang out with you in your dreams. Just wait for me by the big green bright tree. So that is our trigger. So I think that by doing that and him thinking about that at night gives him the opportunity to try to connect with his own dream, if not consciously, but maybe subconsciously, and maybe give him the opportunity to explore that dream realm and dream state. And if he sees a big green tree when he's awake, it's going to trigger that when he's asleep, and he's going to be, oh, so there's a big green tree. That's where my dad's going to be, or whoever I am in his dreams, and that's where we'll be. So I think along those lines, at least with me, I try to set that intention early, and let him know that, hey, you can do whatever you want in your dreams, and I'll be there with you. You just got to look. You just got to be conscious and be mindful of what's happening around you in your dreams, as well as when you're awake. quick question: how much longer time-wise is this going to be running? Because I'm gonna put my kids to bed, and I could probably. I mean, if you guys gonna be back on here still like in an hour, I'll be back. If not, that might be it for me for tonight. But how much longer you guys think you're gonna be on here?
Well, it's always kind of up in the air. It will probably be closer to 12 p.m. midnight. So in about an hour from now, we'll probably still be going. So if you're able to, feel free to check in. Yeah, if we're here, we're here. So.
Absolutely, I'll definitely check back in. But this is such an important thing. I think dreams are so important for us, and we neglect that a lot in our lives, just because we so much think that they're nothing, that they're just another extension of us that makes us, live a fairy tale life when we can't in real life. I think dream exploration and all that, it should be one of the things should be taught in school to kids. It's so important to connect with yourself. If you can't connect with yourself, then it's very hard to connect with other people. And having that genuine connection is very important. So it's an important topic, and I totally admire and respect the fact that you guys are on here and battling this out and figuring this out one way or another. Switching ideas. This is an amazing thing, and I hope I can come back on here in about an hour from now and say goodnight and perhaps be part of the meditation that you host. But yeah, this is really awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Hector, thank you again, man. And wherever it is, look forward to connecting. So in this dream or another. So cool. All right, man. Well, much love. We'll see you soon.
Right on.
Cool, man. And yeah, again, like with what Hector was talking about there about being able to just like share those ideas with young children, I think that's a great idea because again, like kids are already naturally just like in touch with their dreams at a very different level than what we as humans are. But again, that's because it kind of gets conditioned out of us. So what happens? This is just a question itself. What does the society look like when people are encouraged to keep dreaming throughout their adulthood, throughout their adult, like beyond just the childhood and everything like that? So what I want to do now, guys, or actually maybe I'll just check in. We'll just kind of finish up on that question, and then I'm going to read a little bit from this book real quick. But we're just still on the question of what are dreams? So, if we wanted to give that a quick answer. Dayne, I'm not sure if you're kind of coming and going. I can. Don't worry if you're coming and going. But I don't. Dayne, did you want to take a quick crack at that? At the question, just a quick answer of just what are dreams?
Yeah.
So I want to give it a shot.
I was actually just making some mugwort tea.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, appropriately enough, I got some tonight from Nash. So sink
Awesome.
there. That's funny. Just in time for dream class. What are dreams? Well, although that question cannot be answered with words and finite expression, to give a brief outline of what I feel dreams to be, I think that they're a way for us to not only process maybe unacknowledged or repressed or just kind of unconscious thoughts, emotions, patterns and things like that we may experience in physical reality. They're also a way for us to receive anomalous insights, for one. Like maybe in a dream you'll meet somebody you've never met, and then the next day you'll meet them in physical reality, for instance. And, or perhaps receive some kind of premonition, or experience something that doesn't necessarily have to be you interfacing with somebody you've never met, but just experience something in a dream that correlates with something that you experience the next day. I think that they're a way for us to interface with reality outside of the confines of linearity, and just to, I suppose, gain a greater sense of the multidimensionality of existence. It's something that's seeping more and more into this reality, or maybe we're just waking up to the fact that that's always been the case. I also think that they're a way for us to prep ourselves to kind of like unlock certain abilities and things like that in this reality, because evolution is constantly going on, so we're learning more and more about what we're capable of doing, whether it be summoning rain, for instance, doing a rain dance, or like air bending and water bending and fire bending. All this stuff is real. I experience it. It's real in my reality. And it's something that I would experience in dreams as kind of a way to prep me for incorporating that into my life if that was something that I wanted to explore. So, you can move and work with plants and things like that in a very conscious way, and move wind, summon wind, play with fire, and just envisioning this and projecting the intention to be able to achieve these kinds of things is very, very powerful and very, very real. For me, that's what I experienced. So sharing that with you all is, I don't know, something that I feel is something that may be of benefit to you if that's something that you wish to explore personally. Anyways, I know that's a lot, but
that's good.
Try to keep it brief.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Dayne. And yeah, I'll just kind of just swinging off that, and then we got a couple other people to pass the microphone to, pass the talking stick to. Again, and I guess I'll just kind of share my own answer on the reflection of the question that we're just asking ourselves as a group here. What are dreams? And again, we're answering this question just as practice, because maybe our answer to it now might be different from what our answer to it might have been like a month ago or even a year ago, so to speak. Because again, as we continue to grow, I feel that our relationship with everything else continues to shift, and we continue to see things kind of like at deeper levels or at deeper layers, or like as further down the hall of mirrors we see like, oh, it keeps going sort of thing. So we're continuing to travel further into our own realization. One thing with dreams is that I think it's really interesting is when you look at dreams as like, what are dreams? When you look at them from like their potential, right? Like what is the utmost potential of a dream? And so like, that's when we're talking about lucid dreams. And again, a lucid dream is when you are aware that you're in a dream and you're able to actively like just be conscious of how to navigate that space. So again, like within dreams, there's this common sort of framework where it's sort of situated to abide to certain ground rules that are meant to simulate the nature of this physical existence. Yet they do not confine to that. They are only like there under the preconception of an illusion that is like a shared narrative that will take place so long as you choose to believe it. But as soon as you're just like, wait a second, there's an extra narrative going on here, I don't choose to believe it anymore, I'm switching the narrative. And that's when, again, kind of what Dayne was talking about, you can do things like interacting with the elements. And how amazing would that be to just think about the potential to be in a dream and to do something like fire bending, to do something like earth or water or air bending, and you're actually connecting with the elements, much as to how you can do within this physical dimension, but just like in a more like intimate way. And so again, what are dreams? I'll just answer this and then we'll pass the talk and stick around. But again, I just kind of like, it's interesting to think what are dreams from that opened, expanded idea of the potential of dreams. And what are the potential of dreams? Like, I mean, that's a question in itself, right? We're talking about like, when we're talking about the potential of dreams, we're literally talking about the idea that the body is like a time machine. And I think that's the case, is that when you sort of realize that like dreams are like the control panel for using our time machine. So every time we go to sleep, we're traveling through dimensions and stuff like that. How crazy is that? But what are dreams? Again, I feel using that word specifically, I feel that dreams are, there's so many things. Dreams are a means to the purpose to allow us to know ourselves, which I've said many times before. But dreams are, dreams are the I'm trying to think of how to explain this without sounding like it's just repeating itself. Dreams are, this is hard. It's all just practice. Okay. It's not like I don't have an answer, right? It's just like, oh my God. Okay. So the first thing that comes out of my mouth, dreams. Okay, dreams are a way for us to experience. Okay, I'll say it this way: dreams are a way for us to experience conscious awareness beyond the physical body. I'll say it very simply at that point, because I mean, I think that's obvious. And then through there, dreams are an opportunity. Okay, this is what I was going to say. This is big. This is a kicker. Okay, dreams are a way for us to experience our potential as Godhead creators. So I think like that's kind of like, again, going into the potential, right? Like, because I feel there's a part of us, and this can get really trippy, right? Like I feel like, and this is where this is part of the bigger story. I feel that there's a part of us that, again, as a fractal nature of this reality, is very much that extension of that God self of us that has literally created worlds, that has literally created kingdoms and dimensions and entire dreams. And I feel like because of the fact that this has happened somewhere, it is inside of us. That is actually like part of our own knowing. If the universe knows it, then technically we know it. We've just forgotten that we know it. So again, like when we dream, especially when we're lucid, it's a way for us to sort of experience what it's like to have that Godhead power to be able to create things with the power of your thoughts and intentions, in some ways at like a more controlled scale, like a kind of a more personal scale kind of thing. So instead of being like the God that's like creating the universe, suddenly we fractal ourselves into the direct experience, so that we're the God that's like on a beach creating a sandcastle with our mind. But then again, we realize that what we're doing within the dream is exactly what we're doing within this physical reality. So dreams are a freaking hyperdelic mirror, man. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say for that, or else I'll just keep running out of. I'll probably just confuse myself, chasing the rabbit down the rabbit hole here. Okay, so let's keep passing the talk and stick around. And I did just want to give a quick shout out to people in the chat, because they just had a couple comments of their own. Matrix was saying that there is no separation between waking life or dream state. And again, I think that's huge. That's a huge thing, man. Like this dream state, if it wasn't for all the filters that we have on, it would be incredibly obvious that right now we're in the dream state as well. Sai says, dreams are me connecting with my alternate self at times. So again, yeah, that's a super key thing as well. Life is a dream, totally. Oh, there's a, can I see if I can find this? There's a really funny movie that came out not too long ago called The Bad Bunch that has Keanu Reeves in it. And Keanu Reeves is like this like guy who like hosts these parties out in the desert. And there's like one part where there's a billboard, and on the billboard, it's like, it says, "You can't enter the dream unless the dream enters you." And I thought that was kind of cool. Go see the movie The Bad Bunch. It's on Google or something. Okay, let's keep passing the talk and stick around. And I know that Michelle has graced us with her hyperdimensional presence, so we'll pass the talking stick over to Michelle, and I'm not sure if she's staying for very long, but right on time, just at about 11:11, so we'll pass it over to her. So Michelle, I'm just going to bring up your microphone, so if you just want to check your microphone, just say hello.
Hello, testing 3 2 1.
We're loud and clear. So
Beautiful.
Awesome. Michelle, happy new moon, first of all. Thank you for joining. And yeah, I know, right?
Cool.
Big opportunities, big intentions.
Yeah.
So again, we were kind of talking at the beginning, just who are you, where are you from, what brings you to Dream Class? But I think I'll just pass the talking stick over to you, and feel free to share whatever you would like to share at this moment, since you've been here many times before. So.
Sure. Well, I have a poem that I've prepared, but I want to answer your question first with the dreams. Come here, cat. The cat wants to be acknowledged. So I'm Michelle Infinity. I have a cat named Seek. For those I think a lot of you in the community are familiar and have seen me speak and share. And my perspective on dreams, I don't know if this was spoken about before, but for me, I don't have lucid dream powers. Like a lot of people have this very conscious creatorship. And for me, my dreams are a psychological reflection of like I dreamed the other night, like there was a hippopotamus in my dream, and then I look up the symbol for that because I'm super big into symbols just anyway in life. And it was about like you're being stronger than you think you are. And I had just had a really big conversation with an employer figure, and I ended up getting a promotion, but it was all about like you having strength and aggression and standing your ground and different things. But like, who would have thought, you know, like rarely, I haven't thought of a hippopotamus in quite some time. So I think it's a really cool portal to understand, like, for me, dreams are more of like, if you can see auras and you can read energy, but it's like an invisible layer of yourself. Like you don't understand your own psychology or who you are becoming, you know, until like you get like a peek into like, oh, this is what's going on with me. So it's like a understanding of your layers within. And then the other thing I want to share, and this kind of segues into the poem, is that there's like, okay, with portals and energy and different like option lines in the dream that is real life for a second. Can we like segue into that? Because it's like, I noticed that there are portals and openings and gateways and choices and roads that we can all take with like each other in order to manifest the dream that is our present life and our reality. And like, I was just, the poem's about digesting this relationship that like is gone now that this eclipse, the eclipse that happened on the 21st, like shifted the energy of the past 6 months, and there's like a huge cycle. And now this is the new moon and we're going to this equinox, and I have this huge job that I'm stepping into, like as a teacher, like a real teacher in life, like teaching actual visual art and design to people, which I've done before, but it's bigger now. And that is happening from this equinox where I'll be writing curriculum every day until the solstice. So like, I really see how these chapters and these avenues and these portals and these things that we decide, and the eclipses close and open doors, and it's just very powerful. It's very choose your own adventure in life. So I don't know if Skull, if you want to comment on that or say anything before, and then I'd be down to read this poem as best to my ability as I can before I pass on to somebody else, or if anybody else wants to say or share. Rawr.
How about let's just go right into the poem, and then we'll just kind of let things open up a little bit more from there. But
okay,
go ahead. Your hippopotamus, Michelle. Go ahead.
I'm a hippopotamus.
Hippopotamus.
Maybe I should be one for Halloween. Okay. So I hope this all serves you, and love that I hope that this frequency reaches the souls who need to hear it. The air is changing around me now. It's super magical, like when we met and crashed in towards each other. Supernova, like two stars fusing naively, overtaking the other, sharing power, shape-shifting, gaming desires, unconscious longing to be with an other completely. I'm being retuned. I'm going to start it over. Hold on. The air is changing around me now. It's super magical, like when we met and crashed in towards each other. Supernova, like two stars fusing, naively overtaking the other. Sharing power, shape-shifting, gaming desires. Unconscious longing to be with another completely. But then as I surrendered to you, lifted the veil or removed it, let it float down gently away from me, my true face revealed, this Shakti, this wild self you saw in me, reflected as in you, and scared you so complete. You recognized I was not your she, and pulled away from the intensity that is me. And this shamed both of us, away from the other, like Adam and Eve. So basic, the primal desire for union, and completely not knowing how to wield it. This raw magic that is us was so much more than we could have understood. And now that it's over, I can still feel you, and I wonder if I'm feeling you, thinking of me, dreaming of what we could have been, if you would have stood still and opened to me, and stood by me and chosen me, and maybe we could have done great things if we were willing to be seen together. Sprouted like the tree, rooted down like vision, like in the vision I had 7 moons ago that shaped me, and now I know who I am fully from this contrast, and really accept myself and see what I wanted, who I have been, what had been holding me, what sacred union is. And I hold the light for your radiance and mine. I hold a candle for all of us to find the men who exalt us, the women who nourish and feed and sustain, amplifying the power, not amplifying the other, but not draining for power over or under. I am aware that there is a masterpiece of love, and it is delicate and strong and centered and equal. And I am capable of becoming and being and living within this new paradigm, this new reality, this lifeline of souls who find each other and see and honor with love and grace. They strengthen and emanate and radiate. And I am thankful for the shape I had with you to take, to learn and to see in my humility my want for true connection, and how I will show up eternally solid again and again in faith and with time. Now I understand, and I pray for healing. Thank you for letting me share and speak.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle.
Gratitude. Gratitude. Can I say something that's interesting? It never comes out the way you imagine it, and yet it's always like just so. Does that make sense?
Totally.
I love you, Skull. Also, I'm so grateful it's a new moon. I just want to share that. Like, I got on here and conscious conversations, and it's like our work together, not just you and I, but all of us together. We are, and it's like, you know, it comes in waves, but it's so important that we do this. And thank you for being the anchor for us to like. I love you and I respect you, and I say this often, and like I just brother tribe, and I really acknowledge this soul work that we do together as we share this. And like I said, I'm stepping into a career opportunity that's the biggest in my life that I've ever experienced. I've been given more authority to step into a role leading a program in leadership as a teacher, and it's huge, and it's a little intimidating, and at the same time I understand that I wouldn't be given this if it wasn't exactly perfect, right? So I'll be doing this and I'll be writing, and I was wondering, like, what are my commitments to workshops and things and life and this and us, and you know, because it's hard to like we were making a joke online, Skull and I, we don't get paid for ascension consciousness, you know, like we don't get paid overtime for having to process, like, you know, well, I mean, some of us have Patreons, but but we don't get paid for like these deep whirlwinds that we go through, or being constant connectors of the light tribe, like we are so dedicated to be with our articles and with our teachings and with our music and what we're sharing. And it is so important that we remind each other of the frequency that is truth. I love you. Happy new moon, happy equinox, my people.
Yes.
My tribe. Bye.
That's awesome, Michelle. Thank you so much. And I'm sure you're kind of if you have to leave at any point, you know, just you just feel free to wisp away. But
I will. I'll see
yeah.
you in 10 minutes, but yeah, I will.
Cool. Because yeah, I just wanted to say a couple things real quick. Is that yeah, like absolutely, you know, dreams are a very powerful place for us to tap into our potential as the creators that we came here to be. Because you know, it's kind of interesting to think about the idea that like everything that we will create within this lifetime is accessible through our dreams. You know, again, you know, it's like the dreams are like this external hard drive that we can plug into. So, I mean, as artists, as musicians and stuff, it's so important to have that connection to our dreams because that's essentially where everything is being sourced from. You know, that is our mission is to be able to tap into the realms of the imagination and to be ambassadors for higher conscious ideas, to bring it into the physical so that we can continue to inspire people and so that those can be tools for helping elevate, you know, like vibration, like in a very literal sense. Like we're not just talking like, you know, like airy fairy stuff here. But yeah, absolutely, being creators and just again, you know, like that poem that you just read, that existed just within the dream space at one point because it existed in your mind just at one point. And even before it existed in your mind, it existed within the ether, if we want to call it that. So, you know, again, it's kind of like it comes through us. We are literally conduits. We are literally channels for consciousness, for God to experience itself. I did just want to say, because I know Elliot just recently joined and stuff like that. Elliot, having listened to Michelle's poem and stuff, I just wanted to give you a chance if there's anything that maybe you felt called to say or communicate, or just any gratitude that you want to express. Because not to put him on the spot, but I know Elliot's been a big fan. Very, very grateful for Michelle's work over the years. He's expressed that to me numerous times. So, Elliot, I mean, not to put you on the spot, dude, but I just want to give you the opportunity if there's anything you want to say and tie that back into dreams how you will. Go ahead.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm pretty speechless. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know. This world's too beautiful, man. It's crazy. Yeah. Too many beautiful things have happened this summer for me. It's crazy how, like, I don't know, healing lands can be for people, you know, as much as dreams can be, you know. It's, I don't know, putting yourself in a state where your soul can flourish. It's pretty magical to realize you always have that decision, you know. So, yeah, intention's huge. Yeah. Chasing fear, like realizing that's a door. And you always have the key inside Pandora's box, which is heart-shaped. You know? I don't know. That's really beautiful. You guys make me cry and feel really good.
We're with you, man. It's beautiful, man.
It's really good to have like this equinox. Yeah, totally forgot it was new moon.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just thought about it. It was a really crazy experience. Yeah, talking about like dreams that are on life. I was able to swim in bioluminescence recently. So it's plankton within the sea that's around Tofino and Oregon and some parts of the other West Coast. But when it's agitated, it lights up very, very blue. And like to swim in glowing waters while shooting stars were going over top of you was pretty magical. And then like biking home at 2 a.m. and just seeing like the most beautiful orange crescent moon just over this inlet was like, you know, we can pull these things like down, you know, like we have as much weight as gravity can at some points, you know, and it's all about matter is mass. And, you know, like you can make matter mass, or you can make mass matter, you know? So, yeah.
That's beautiful, man. That's awesome. And man, like I think the plankton example, I think it's really beautiful when we have those moments, which could be literally every day if we choose to see it, where we're just like, oh my God, like this is equally as beautiful as like any sort of, you know, like profound dream experience that I might have, you know. Even Elliot, you know, just like being there and watching the sunset, you know, like we see this stuff all the time that we become desensitized and we become like sort of disconnected from just like the absolute awe that is within each moment. And sometimes dreams will do that, you know, they'll just like slap us in the face with awe, and yet like as equally as much as it is our mission to be present within our dreams, we have to still be present within, you know, again, within this reality, within this dream, because nothing that is here within the physical just like randomly showed up. Like everything that's here in the physical like came through the dream, came from like the astral planes, came through the etheric, you know, came from this like nebulous form that crystallized over time to be able to experience and express itself. But yeah, dude, Elliot, man, thank you so much for just sharing your heart, for being a fellow heartist amongst the team. So sweet, man.
Yeah. Question: when you said I was a fan of Michelle's work for so long, do I think this is the person I think it is? Like, are we all
Michelle Infinity? Yeah.
Okay.
Is that who? Did you know it was Michelle Infinity?
No. Like, okay, we're good. We're good.
Because I remember you like I remember we've had conversations before way back in the day, and you're just like, yeah, you know, like I really like her posts and stuff. So sorry, not to.
No, yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no, thank you. And sorry, Michelle, go ahead if there's something you want to say.
My little child self is like, oh, but then my more mature self said, no, sister, just be happy. So I'm doing that a lot better now. My child self, she wants, you know, reward and talkie and la la la, and so but my soul self is like stepping in and integrating her, and the enthusiasm and the gratitude and the connection that happens when we get to say like, oh, but at the same time doing it in a way that's like true and honest and from the heart. And so I'm very grateful that my whatever was coming through me at the time resonated with you, because it's so important that we who create, I feel for myself very important that I receive feedback that my creations are not falling on deaf ears, that people are actually feeling, you know, because it gives us so much more, like, I'm being heard, I'm being understood, I'm not only being seen, everybody loves being seen, but like that I'm doing a good job conveying it, you know, like on top of the fact that like, so it's like I'm being received. And so that's really cool to feel when you feel like you're channeling, you know, so that's it.
Awesome. And again, you know, like I think as the project evolves, what's beautiful is that like when all of us continue to become fans of all of our works, you know, all of us are like #1 fans for each other. It's like, dude, you're doing awesome. Like, man, you're doing awesome. Like, keep creating and stuff like that. But absolutely, you know, like it's
a circle.
It's a circle, yeah. It's like an ecosystem for community, and inspiration is its own ecosystem, I think. So, you know, what you put in is what you get out. What you get out is what you put in. So sweet. Gratitude. Yeah. Sweet. All right. I just wanted to be able to check in. I know Nico is here. Nico, if you're there, if you just want to even just check in by turning on your webcam at some point, I just wanted to check in with you just since you were recently joined. And then I want to read a little bit from a book here. Not sure. So, okay, there he is. Okay, so Nico, dude, welcome to the Hangout. I'm just going to pull up your microphone and do a quick test. And maybe if you want to just take a crack at the question we were asking earlier that we went around the circle with, just what are dreams, you know, feel free to give a crack at that, or anything else that you want to share within this point of the broadcast. So, Nico, go ahead, man. Welcome back to Dream Class.
Cool. Hey, everybody. Yeah, what are dreams? You know, I've always thought it was, maybe not always, but I guess for a while now, I've thought that our dreams are just us, you know, slipping into like the real reality, and then taking a break from this dream, essentially, and then coming back into it in a nutshell. So.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could elaborate further on that. Just
word.
Yeah, just I feel I don't know, like it's interesting to try and like explain it kind of on the spot, but I think I did a good enough job without like trying to complicate it like much further. You know, it's pretty well summarized for me at least.
Yeah, that works for me, man. I mean, that's part of the challenge. Is like, yeah, how can we literally just like crystallize things even more and more? So that's the objective. So cool,
All
man.
right, I'm gonna head out. I love you guys. I'm gonna do
Okay, Michelle.
You rock. I love all of you.
All right.
Bye,
See-
everybody.
See you through the portals and at the dream parties and
Real
stuff
forever.
like that. So
And not
Best.
real at the same time because it's a dream.
yeah.
Bye.
All right, Michelle. Talk to you later. Cool. All right. Okay, guys. So thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. I'm just going to take a moment here to just kind of read a little bit from a book. Just before we do that, it's about 11:30 on the clock right now. Just to give you guys a little bit of a heads up. We'll keep talking for a little bit more. I think if we cap this broadcast within 3 hours, I think that's probably fine. At 3 hours, that's probably fine. So we'll keep talking. Again, I want to be able to give you guys a chance to even just talk about any recent dream experiences that you've had, things like that, and then we'll close with like a closing meditation as well. And even again, just getting a moment to put forth some practical tips and tricks for people to be able to use who are continuing to explore their own dreams as well. So one of the things that I was reading within like the book Toltec Path, which is again has a lot to do with like the teachings of Don Juan based on the Carlos Castaneda books, and it has a lot to do with sort of like navigating the subtle energies of these planes and being able to experience things as consciousness beyond the physical body. But one of the chapters that I was reading recently was all about teamwork, and it was all about creating a team and creating a tribe. And one of the core things that it mentioned is that, for any team to be successful, for any core team to be successful, they have to be active, like dream practitioners. If you're building a team that is focused on expanding consciousness and yet you're not focusing on practicing your dreams, it's kind of like not having that foundation to stand on. And again, when we continue to research our dreams, that ripples into everything that we do as leaders and as artists, as creators, as facilitators further on into our journey. So again, the objective here within Paradigm Shift is going back to the core of the project, is to encourage people, to inspire people to choose to be the change they wish to see. And so when we tap into our dreams, we tap into that remembrance of how each one of us willingly chose to be here to be the change that we wish to see. And it is within our dreams that we begin to reveal more of our own mystery of who it is that we came here to be in that sense. So let me just read a little bit from here, guys, and I'll just kind of continue to open up the conversation because we do have a couple other players who recently joined in. So this book is called Dream Yoga, Consciousness, Astral Projection, and the Transformation of the Dream State by Samael Weor. And this is like a guy who did a lot of writings for, who put together a lot for like the Gnostic teachings. And again, Gnosticism just means knowledge through experience. So this is kind of like a collection. Gnosticism as like a modern day teaching is kind of like a collection of a lot of esoteric common themes found throughout many different spiritual practices and religions worldwide. So it's kind of looking at like that perennial philosophy, so to speak. So this is right at the beginning. And then, if this is something you guys are interested in, maybe I'll do separate videos where I read a little bit more of this, or even just saving it for future dream class. So let me just read here the editor's introduction. Editor's introduction. This small collection of writings offers practical guidance from the ancient universal knowledge of awakening in the internal worlds, otherwise known as dream yoga, lucid dreaming, astral projection, astral travel, or out-of-body experiences. So pay very close attention to the language they're using here. The purpose of this book is to empower you with the understanding and skills necessary to acquire your own direct experiences of the world that exist beyond three-dimensional matter. As such, this is a teaching of gnosis, a Greek word which refers to knowledge that one acquires through one's own experience, as opposed to knowledge which we have heard or been told. Gnosis is the name of a timeless and universal teaching that has been present in many times and places around the world, appearing with different names and faces, but always teaching the exact science to awaken the consciousness. This book offers the essential instructions so that anyone, anywhere, regardless of any distinctions, may enter into their own direct knowledge of the living realities that surround us, yet remain inaccessible to the physical senses. Although interest in this subject is growing, there are many people who have been frustrated in their attempts to have their own personal experiences of these internal worlds. Reading books or attending seminars usually leaves seekers with more questions, doubts, and contradictions. To those persons who we offer the following quote: We have given many clues in order to consciously travel with the astral body, so thousands of students have learned to travel in their astral body. However, we have seen in practice that those people who cannot quiet the mind, not even for an instant, who are accustomed to hopping from school to school, from lodge to lodge, always inquiring, always preoccupied, are not able to consciously astral travel. Therefore, this is the end of the quote. It already ended, rather. Therefore, understanding that this is a scientific, practical, and rigorous effort of working with the consciousness, information is only useful when it is utilized in the right way. We need right effort. So again, a lot of what this book is about is literally the esoteric sciences. So it's looking at like consistent patterns and techniques that can work for anyone so long as they continue to practice them with consistency. And that's like the big key in all of this dream stuff, is that, you know, the main thing that no one can give you, but you have to create it for yourself, is about building consistency. It's about creating consistency within your own habits. So many people don't get as far as they could within their dreams because they don't develop the consistency. And again, that is strengthened through the community support that we're creating. Back to what I'm reading here. The average person faces two tremendous obstacles when investigating the nature of dreaming and out-of-body experiences. 1, a lack of effective methods, and 2, their own mind. With this book in hand, you have conquered the first step. Here you will find a series of exercises whose potency has been confirmed by thousands of students. They are not mere theories, they are scientific formulae that lead to exact results. When you put these techniques into activity, the real work begins, to calm your mind. This starts with the awakening of your consciousness here and now in the physical world from moment to moment. Without the effort to consciously awaken from moment to moment, dream yoga is impossible. Said another way, the techniques in this book will work for anyone who is making the effort to become consciously awake from moment to moment. But for those who remain dreaming from moment to moment, all day and all night, these techniques can do nothing. To awaken consciousness, we must stop dreaming, and this must be in each moment. And this is a quote here. When we are in the physical world, we must learn to be awake from moment to moment. We then live awakened and self-conscious from moment to moment in the internal world, both during the hours of the sleep of the physical body and also after death. So that's a big thing right there, and I'll get back to that. In other words, if you learn how to awaken your consciousness here and now, then naturally you will awaken your consciousness in the internal worlds. In this way, we make steady progress in the elimination of suffering, the understanding of the mysteries of life and death, and the fulfillment of our true reason for being. So that's just the editor's introduction. So again, you know, that gets into some key stuff here that relates to, you know, just the bigger intentions of what it means to be a cosmic citizen, which is something it talks about later in the book. But one of the really key things that, again, you know, is talking about making sure that we wake up within this state. So if you're trying to wake up within your dreams, it starts within the physical. You got to wake up within the physical. And again, that means like through self-awareness. That means through practicing meditation. That means through like being present in any moment. And then another thing that it talks about here, it says, when they live, we then live awakened and self-conscious from moment to moment in the internal worlds, both during the hours of sleep of the physical body and also after death. So some of the reason why people were actually training and studying dream yoga back in the day and even now is actually to be able to literally prepare their consciousness beyond the moment of death, for the moment beyond death. So like that's kind of the idea, is that, you know, when you die, you're literally like going back into that same place that we access within the dream space. And, you know, obviously you can kind of look at the correlations between how DMT is produced in the brain during birth, death, and dreams, which again, you know, is not a coincidence. So it's going back to that similar space. But again, what if it's no guarantee that when we die, like our soul is able to navigate that dream space quite in the way that we would be able to if we were to fully kind of prepare for that moment. So there's literally people who literally spend their physical incarnation preparing for that moment of death, so that when they're literally like as a, you know, and a consciousness kind of like in this space beyond the physical body, they're able to acknowledge it, and they're able to be present with it. They're able to even meditate in that moment of death and be like, okay, like I've navigated dreams before, I can navigate this space before, and I can continue to become conscious. So it's a very, very interesting idea. So let me just read a little bit more here, guys. There's like I could read like this one chapter here, and I would like to, again, you know, part of my intention behind reading this for you guys is so that all of us can just get some of the downloads from it, and then we'll go back to just the core discussion within the group. So if you guys are with me, just allow me to read. This is a bit of chapter 1. I may just read all the chapter. It's not fully long. It's not that long. But again, it's important, and this is equally as valuable as any of the discussion that we would be sharing as well. And again, I want to be able to use this as jump points for the discussion as well. Chapter 1, Consciousness. And again, the book for this is Dream Yoga, Consciousness, Astral Projection, and the Transformation of the Dream State by Samael on Weor. His name is Samael space AUN space WEOR. I'll post a link for it in the show notes. Chapter 1, Consciousness. People confuse consciousness with intelligence or with intellect. Thus, they qualify a very intelligent or intellectual person as a very cognizant person. Undoubtedly, and without fear of deceiving ourselves, we affirm that within a human being, the consciousness is a very particular means of apprehending internal knowledge and is completely independent of any mental activity. The faculty of consciousness facilitates the knowledge of ourselves. The consciousness grants us the internal knowledge of what is, where it is, what is really known, and what is certainly ignored. Revolutionary psychology teaches that only the individual by himself can know his own self. Yes, only we ourselves can know if we are or are not cognizant at any given moment. That's deep. Only by oneself can one know about one's own consciousness and whether it was active or not at any given moment. So again, you know, just in that little tidbit alone, like that's the thing with all of this, is that, you know, you're the only one who can experience your own dreams. You're the only one who can awaken your own consciousness. Only the individual by himself and nobody but himself can become aware at any given instant, at any given moment. If before that instant, if before that moment, he is not really cognizant, then his consciousness was very asleep. Are you awake right now? Thereafter, he will fall asleep again and again and forget that experience, or will keep it as a memory, as the memory of a strong experience. It is essential to know that the consciousness within rational animals is not a continuous or permanent entity. Normally, the consciousness within these intellectual animals, mistakenly called humans, sleeps profoundly. Thus, the moments in which their consciousness is awake are seldom, very seldom. So again, they're saying, you know, like the majority of humans right here on Earth right now are actually asleep. You know, again, so we're using the terms of sleep in terms of like, are we consciously aware in the present moment? And a lot of us are actually asleep. And again, you know, like even just right now, just check in with yourself. How conscious are you in this moment? How conscious are you of your breath? The breath can be the anchor. Yes, intellectual animals work, drive cars, marry, die, etc., with their consciousness totally asleep, and it awakens only in very exceptional moments. Sadly, the life of present human-like people is a life of dreams, yet they believe they are awake and will never admit that they are dreaming. That is, that their consciousness is asleep. If any of them were to suddenly awaken, he would feel terribly ashamed of himself. He would immediately comprehend his clownishness or his buffoonery. since this life is frightfully ludicrous, horribly tragic, and seldomly sublime. If a boxer in the middle of a fight was to unexpectedly awaken, covered in shame, he would see the entire fascinated public, and then, before the astonishment of the sleeping and unconscious multitude, he would flee from the horrendous spectacle. When a human being admits that he has his consciousness asleep, he can be sure that he has already begun to awaken. Okay, I'm just going to reread that again because that's like a freaking quote that all of us should remember. When a human being admits that he has his consciousness asleep, he can be sure that he has already begun to awaken. So again, like how true is that? How oftentimes do we see that within dreams, right? Even if you run into a dream character, you might run into them or they might run into you and they might be like, dude, you're dreaming right now or you're asleep right now. And you'll be like, no, I'm not. I'm awake, man. Like I'm totally awake right now. So, I mean, it's kind of the same thing within this waking state, within this self-awareness of our everyday lives where most people aren't even aware enough to recognize that they are asleep. They're not awake enough to recognize that they're asleep. So if you recognize that you are asleep, that parts of you are asleep, then that's actually a step towards beginning to wake up. The reactionary school of old-fashioned psychology that deny the existence of the consciousness and that even declare the terms useless reveal a most profound state of sleep. The henchmen of such schools snooze very profoundly with an utterly infraconscious and unconscious state. Those who confuse the consciousness with psychological functions, i.e. thoughts, feelings, motor impulses, and sensations, are indeed very unconscious. They are profoundly asleep. Those who admit the existence of the consciousness and nonetheless utterly deny the different degrees of cognizance reveal their lack of cognizance experience. That is, they reveal their sleeping consciousness. Any person who, even for a brief moment, awakened his consciousness knows very well by his own experience that different degrees of observable consciousness exist within oneself. I'm just going to read a little bit more. First time, how long did we remain cognizant? Second, frequency. How many times have we awakened our cognizance? Third, amplitude and penetration. What are we cognizant of? Revolutionary psychology and the ancient philokalia affirms that consciousness can be awakened and made continuous and controllable by means of a special kind of super effort. A fundamental education has its objectives, the awakening of the consciousness. It is worthless to expend 10 or 15 years of study in school, college, and university if upon completion of our studies we are sleeping automatons. It is no exaggeration to affirm that by means of great effort, intellectual animals can become cognizant of themselves for a brief couple of minutes. Nonetheless, it is clear that in regard to cognizance, there exist remarkable exceptions that we must seek with the lantern of the diagnosis. These remarkable cases are represented by the authentic human beings such as the Buddha, Jesus, Hermes, Quetzalcoatl, etc. These founders of religions possess continuous cognizance. They are great enlightened men. Okay, so just the last bit here. Commonly, people are not cognizant of themselves, yet have the illusion of being cognizant in a continuous manner. This illusion is due to memory and all the processes of thought. For example, any individual who practices a retrospective exercise in order to remember their entire life can truly recall, remember, and remember the number of times they married, how many children they begot, who their parents were, their teachers, etc. However, this does not signify the awakening of their consciousness. This is simply the remembrance of unconscious actions, and that is all. Here it is necessary to repeat what we have stated in former chapters. There are 4 states of consciousness: sleep, vigil state, self-cognizance, and objective cognizance. The wretched intellectual animal mistakenly called humans live only in 2 of these states, since they spend one half their lives in bed, sleeping, and the other half in the wrongly called vigil state, which indeed is a sleepwalking state. Yes, the individual who in bed sleeps and dreams believes that he is awake by merely returning to the vigil state, but he continues dreaming, because for him, the vigil state is indeed a sleepwalking state. This is similar to daybreak. The stars seem to hide when the sun rises, yet they continue to exist when the physical eyes cannot perceive them. Yeah, so I'll just stop reading that there. But I mean, again, you know, that's just like the introduction of, or actually, sorry, let me just read this because this is just the last page in the chapter. So I'll just finish it real quick. In normal life, and thanks for your patience, guys. In normal life, the populace knows nothing about self-cognizance, much less the objective cognizance. Nevertheless, people are proud and everyone thinks that they are cognizant of themselves. Yes, intellectual animals firmly believe that they are cognizant of themselves and that they would never accept, under any circumstance, being told that they are actually asleep and that they live unconscious of themselves. Exceptional moments exist when intellectual animals awaken, but these moments are very rare. This awakening can occur in an instant of great danger, or during an intense emotion, or in some new circumstance, or in some new unexpected situation, etc. Nonetheless, it is indeed a disgrace that the intellectual animals does not have any control over these fleeting states of awakened consciousness, and that he cannot evoke them in order to make them continuous. Nevertheless, the fundamentals of Gnostic education affirm that any individual can acquire control over his consciousness and thus attain self-cognizance. Yes, this revolutionary psychology has methods, scientific processes to awaken the consciousness. And then chapter 2 is the awakening of consciousness. So, I mean, I can get into that at a later point, or we'll see when it's appropriate. So you can kind of see, like, this book doesn't really sugarcoat stuff. Like, it's like straight to the point of just being like, dear humans, the majority of you guys are sleeping. Get your stuff together, and acknowledging that, you know, like, most people will never really acknowledge that they themselves are sleeping. So, I mean, you know, this is why, like, it's such like a broadcast like this is important, even if it is like reaching a small number of people, because again, you know, just through that's like beginning to create the ripple effect. And it's not necessarily expected that all of society wakes up. But if we just focus on waking up ourselves, then that does absolutely have a holographic effect on, again, you know, just the continuous impacts that we can make within our communities and within our communities and within our, you know, within our tribes and stuff. But yeah, no, it's maybe we can just kind of talk a little bit there about what you guys feel about the idea of sort of acknowledging that, you know, the dream practice begins by acknowledging the consciousness of our waking state, and by acknowledging of how present we are within, you know, just the everyday lives that we live. So I just want to open up the talking stick here. I'm not sure if anybody feels any direct comments, but feel free to jump in on any sort of thoughts that you guys might have had while I was reading that. Again, you know, it was wasn't really sugar-coated. It was kind of just like straight to the point, but just hitting on the initial topics of, yeah, before you can get awake within the dream state, you have to wake up within the physical state. And part of that is just by acknowledging that we've been asleep. So maybe just kind of like ask that question. Do you guys remember thinking about your guys' consciousness now? Can you guys sort of think back on how your consciousness was perhaps years ago? And are you able to acknowledge perhaps your own state of like sleepwalking through like the waking state and stuff? If that makes sense, how I worded that. Yeah, so if anybody else just wants to jump in, feel free to do that. But yeah, what do you guys feel? Do you guys remember like what your waking consciousness was like, you know, even just like years ago before you started intentionally awakening your consciousness? Do you remember what it was like to have a consciousness that wasn't as awakened, that was sleeping in some ways? Do you guys remember being automatons, so to speak? So if you guys just kind of want to reflect on that. So I think Tony's got... Tony, go ahead. I'm going to pull your mic up. Go ahead.
All right. Well, when I first started, I started like in like hardcore witchcraft, demonic tradition, fairy tradition, which is predominantly a feminist tradition, from the book The Spiral Dance from Starhawk, which is an awesome book. I've got the 10th anniversary edition, but she's got a 20th anniversary out now, and it kind of goes along with the same thing we're about to talk about, is her reflection on how she's changed in the last 20 years, where at first she was like, oh, it's all about the goddess, it's all about the feminine energy, but that's only half of it, that's only part of it. You have to really integrate and understand yourself in your totality before, and you know, you can't really put words to it after a while. It's no longer feminine and masculine, you know, female, it just is what it is. Labels on it, we limit who we are and what we're about as a God aspect of creation, and understanding our place in that creation and in our universe, and the universe that we feel our presence in, of our own presence, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think that's mainly what I've changed as far as like before and after type of thing. I was much more centered on aspect, the yin, not necessarily the yang, you know. So I think it's important that people recognize that balance within each other. And if you're not completely awake, and using that word, then that might be why, is because you're either turning your back on part of yourself. I don't want to say any name, but there's something where you work with your shadow, and it's a direct face of a hurricane, basically. You know, you have to come to terms with yourself and really take a long look at yourself as far as what you're about and what are the inner workings that makes you tick. And if there's any things that needs to come to light, well, then once you do bring those to light into your awareness, they are no longer a shadow, and you integrate them into part of who you are. I think that's important, and that's what I've learned throughout the process. Is I used to be very imbalanced, I guess you could say, and now I think through awakening I've become to a more balanced state and person. Okay. So yeah, that.
Cool. Thanks, Tony. That's good. Awesome. Sweet. Yeah, okay, so again, you know, some good examples there, just kind of, you know, from what Tony was talking about. And again, I think we can kind of see that in all of us. It is just interesting to reflect on, you know, like how have we changed, you know, over the years, and as we continue to awaken within this waking state. Does anybody have any comments they wanted to mention here? There's some other stuff I wanted to get into. A friend of mine, he did a nice write-up about some of his out-of-body experience practice session that I actually wanted to be able to read for you guys at some point, just as an example of what some people are doing to be able to, you know, just utilize their abilities to experience consciousness outside of the physical, and how that's not only benefiting them, but how that in turn affects others as well. But just in the moment, I just kind of wanted to open things up here. Is there anything else that anybody feels called to share relative to any topic at this point? You know, just kind of opening things up. If anybody has anything they want to jump in on the topic, that would be relative to Dream Class. So that's all right. Sorry guys, I'm just kind of I just need kind of like mental break for a second. It's kind of why I'm just asking someone else to jump in. But yeah, if anybody maybe has like a question for the group, again, just inviting you guys to help co-create the discussion in terms of Dream Class, or what are some things that you would like to learn about through the practice of Dream Class? What are some things you would like to become better at? What are some things you would like to understand more of? So if anybody wants to jump in at this point. So not sure if again I want to put people on the spot, just waiting for people to volunteer if you guys want to jump in. Otherwise I'll jump into reading a little bit more. Let me just check in here. Shout out to people in the YouTube. Got a lot of people in the YouTube comments there. So letting go is the start of endless wonder, says Sai. Why live in a box when there is an endless possibilities? So cool. Okay. Who's opening the mic right now? Dayne? Okay, cool. Dayne, go ahead. We'll pass the talking stick over to you. What would you like to add to this to the circle? Go ahead.
I think I may actually throw in the towel for tonight. I just wanted to say bye.
That's cool.
I hope I'm not interrupting
Not at all, man.
the stream of conscious flow. Feel free to add me on Facebook or connect with me on YouTube. I don't know if it's easy enough to see my YouTube link through the chat, the live chat. Anyways, you guys are amazing. I love you all. And yeah, keep it shifty. I love it. Yeah.
Keep it shifty. All right, Dayne. Thanks again, man. And look forward again, when we get a chance just to hear more about your super interesting and exciting trippy dreams of meeting fairy folk and stuff. So
I guess I could share one.
do you want to? Quick story before you go to bed?
Yeah. So
sure, man, go for it.
It's really interesting because on our property, I live in the mountains. I live in the Berkshire Mountains of Western Massachusetts. If those of you who have been tuned into the broadcast since I joined might have remembered me saying that. But it's along the ley line system. It's like a huge magical portal location. There's like a very distinct magic to this area that when you leave the proximity of the Berkshires, it's just a totally different vibe. Immediately noticeable if you're sensitive to energies and things like that. But on our property, there's a family of bears who kind of roams around. And they've been here for a few years, at least as long as we've been. And so we've kind of witnessed, me and my friend Gabe, who I live with, have witnessed the development of this family. So initially, it was just a mother. Well, it still is. It's three for as far as we know. 3 individuals, a mother and then 2 cubs. And so the cubs have actually grown quite a bit now, though. They're adults pretty much. But I had an experience with some Sasquatch in dream time. I don't know how long ago this was. I think it was this year. It could have been last year. I don't quite remember. It was either this year or last year. But the Sasquatch we were basically playing like hide and seek in the woods on our property. So we have like 30 acres here of just like magical forest wonderland. And they call it home, the bears. But it's interesting because once again, that we were just playing around. Like the Sasquatch are super, super friendly, super, super connected to nature, just like as you would imagine them to be. They're not very sophisticated in terms of their technological advancement, but they're very, very spiritually evolved. And I think it's really interesting because there were 3 of them, and it perfectly, of course, correlates with the number and nature of the individuals of this bear family. So there's like a strong resonance between Sasquatch energy and bear energy, which is really funny. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, that's one particular experience that comes to mind. But they're like stewards of this earth, They have a lot to teach us, and they learn from us too. It's always a two-way road when interacting with different consciousnesses. It's a potentially mutually beneficial and enriching experience for all parties, as it should be.
So Dayne, in that situation, opposed to you just sort of perceiving the Sasquatch as being like you imagining a projection of Sasquatch, did it feel like the entities that you're acting with like had their own consciousness? And
oh yeah,
and perhaps like this was something that they had intentionally sought out as well in some way?
Yeah, because my roommate Gabe has had a lot of experiences with them as well. Mm-hmm. So we totally have very similar experiences with them. So it's definitely like that leads me to believe that it's not just a projection of my psyche, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, everything is a projection of your psyche at some point, you know. It's so funny to try to draw these like absolutes and things, but I don't know. Anyways,
that's cool.
Linguistics.
Yeah.
I suppose what I'm trying to say is it's all about perspective, anyways.
Yeah, and again, you know, I think in a situation like that, there always is going to be like an element of doubt, but that doubt is there to be, you know, to be observed, and in some cases to be challenged, because, you know, I think some people would like wake up from a Sasquatch dream and just be like, oh, that was a interesting dream, but no way could that actually be Sasquatch. And then like some people would be like, holy crap, that was Sasquatch, and and just kind of like realize the pertinence and the meaning of it at a deeper level and stuff. So you know, maybe the Sasquatch are very active on the dream front, and maybe they're not the only entities. You know, a lot of these like multidimensional entities, again, something we've talked about before, a lot of these contact experiences with multidimensional entities are taking place within the dream space, and I think that's, you know, just the natural way for it. So because again, you know, that dream space, it's like a central server that other forms of consciousness can tap into. So whether it be Sasquatch or whether it be, you know, like aliens on another planet, it's a very interesting idea for them to imagine how accessing this interface at a higher degree of conscious awareness would allow them to not only not accidentally just like happen to turn up into our dreams, but to intentionally align themselves with our dreams in some way. You know, like maybe from our perspective, dreams seem very random, but maybe at like another higher level, it's something much more like almost like the Matrix, where you know, like there's like another degree of ourselves that's like choosing which programs to run and which you know, like which AI to inject into our dreams. And then at times they put themselves into the dreams, they like load themselves in as a user into the dream interface. I mean, that's just one way I think of, for me, when I think about dreams in comparison to technology in the Matrix movies and stuff like that. I don't think it's too far off from being able to comprehend it that way. But yeah, Dayne, thanks for sharing, man. And I know there's other stories that you got, but yeah, meeting other entities within the dream space. Is there anything else you just want to mention on that before you head out? And you know, maybe is that the future? Are we going to keep seeing more of that? And
It's the future and the past.
There you go.
Yeah. I feel like, you know, at this time, you know, with the resurgence of so much ancient wisdom and esoteric teachings and all of these things, it's all just like coming back around, and we're just remembering what we had forgotten, you know, as far as the nature of reality is concerned. But I do want to say, like, with regard to having doubts about whether or not these things are real that you're experiencing, you just have to trust your intuition. You can't let your rational mind get too much in the way of it. It's important to practice healthy skepticism, but not at the expense of being open-minded, you know? So that's just my 2 cents on that. And just look for the patterns.
Definitely. And it's interesting, man. And I'll just kind of say this, but I know you're jumping out in a minute. Again, you know, the idea that within the dream space, we're able to have these interactions with conscious entities, assuming that this is nothing new. It's really fascinating to think about how this has played a role throughout the history of mankind. You know, it's just an interesting premise to try and imagine what were people's dreams like, say, like back during the Middle Ages or something like that, you know? And even some of the creatures that we see within like mythology, those were actual like real experiences that people were having within the dream space. You know, people were dreaming of dragons, people were dreaming of like chimeras and griffins and things like that. And again, it's not just like they just randomly had these visions pop into their mind, but part of the idea, and again, this is just an idea, think for yourself, is that these entities are like, again, you know, like existing on that spiritual plane to begin with, and part of their role within consciousness is to like guide us within our dreams as well. But I mean, who knows, you know, like this is just an idea and I'm just kind of thinking out loud as I say it, but I wonder way back in the day, like before kind of modern technology became a thing, were people having dreams of like interacting with quote unquote aliens, or were they having dreams of going to other planets or things like that? And I think the obvious answer is yes, and it's probably stuff that would like come through in different writings and in art, and you know, oftentimes probably not even recorded at all, as it was so much of a personal experience, or it would be something that, you know, many mystics would sort of recognize as like a spiritual vision that they would perceive as well. But yeah, you know, again, it's just interesting when you hear guys like Tesla talking about how they got a lot of their ideas through their dreams from aliens, like from Martians and stuff, and you know, openly talk about that. And maybe to other people are like, that's crazy, but to, you know, people who are probably into these discussions, is like, no, that's exactly how it would happen, because you know, that's how the universe kind of gets information from one place to the other, is through the dream space. So dream space is again, you know, it's a server that all of us can log into and upload and download from, so kind of thing. So I don't know, but Dayne, just kind of last question, have you ever thought about that, about like what people's dreams might have been like, you know, thousands and thousands of years ago?
It's interesting, man. You know, now we have developed, for instance, the scientific method, so we're able to kind of like dissect and draw more overarching patterns in a kind of more objective way than we were able to in previous eras. But yeah, it's definitely really, really interesting. I feel like they're, you know, things are always like super mysterious, like all the time. But there was probably just like such a greater degree of mystery and uncertainty, which is returning now, you know. But it's really, really interesting to ponder about. Like, I can recall, for instance, one experience I had in dream time of tuning into one of my past lives as a shaman. And like, because like you've spoken about earlier in the broadcast, the similarities between psychedelic states, entheogenic states, and dream states are uncannily numerous. So when I was in the midst of this recall, or tuning into past life, a parallel life, there was like just such an element of mysticism about it, in like kind of a primitive way, in a way that like was hard for me to have kind of a frame of reference for in the context of my modern civilized life, you know. There was, yeah, just like such an element of primordialism about it. So I guess that's like one way in which I can kind of feel into that and get some sense of what that might have been like to experience these kinds of things. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to consider, to think about.
Mm-hmm. Word, man. That's cool. That's cool, man. Yeah, and again, you know, like maybe at the time, maybe back when you're like your past shaman self, maybe you're dreaming about your present self now, and you know, it goes full circle. So
No, probably it's fucking tricky, dude. It's fucking tricky. Yeah,
it is. And that's why we can keep having broadcasts like this and keep talking about it. So the mystery is always going to be there. So cool, man. All right. Is there anything else you want to share before you head off to the dream space, dude? And thanks again.
Sweet dreams, y'all.
Sweet dreams, y'all.
Maybe see you there.
All right, man. We'll see you there. Okay, Dayne. Thanks for tuning in again, man. Appreciate it, and thanks for your support and for your help on the team.
Yeah, man. Thanks for all that you do.
Thank you, man. Awesome.
Pleasure. Okay.
Sweet, guys.
Take care.
All right. Thanks again, Dayne. So again, guys, if you're looking to connect with Dayne, check out one thing. Would be soundcloud.com/starseed. You can check out some of his music there, but again, I'll include his notes and his info into the show notes. Okay, guys, I want to read something real quick here because I think it's really interesting. And then again, I just want to be able to just invite us to brainstorm and just practice talking a little bit more, and then we'll wrap up the broadcast pretty soon with the shared dream tree meditation, which again is interesting because Hector was talking about how he was doing this with their child about like mentioning shared dream space within dream practices, and that's basically what we've been doing within Paradigm Shift, is inviting people to imagine what we've been referring to as a dream tree within the Paradigm Shift community, and to continue to work towards being there and gathering there and anchoring our energy into this space, so that as much as we're like here on the physical, like having these meetings and interacting and everything like that, it's anchoring in this narrative that in the astral planes during the nights when we go to sleep, we can actually meet up at this shared space within the dream. You know, it's almost like again, it's kind of like a video game where if you create the map, then you can play on it. All you got to do is just kind of create it in the first place. So creating that dream tree through our intention is kind of that. So guys, I'm going to read something from a friend of mine who has been having some very interesting experiences with out of body that he's been practicing and working towards. And I just want to be able to share this as it's again an example to be able to get an idea of you know, what people are experiencing and what people are accomplishing through their dream practices, through their out of body experience practices. So just before I do that, guys, I just want to again give a quick shout out to everybody tuned into this, and I just want to be able to give a special thanks to our Team Patreon supporters. And at this point, just reminding you guys that the Team Patreon is a monthly micro donation method that we have set up to be able to help support the project. So of course, everything that we do through Paradigm Shift Central is provided completely for free for the community, and that's made possible through the Patreon. So patreon.com/Brendon Culleton, you can sign up for that as a monthly micro donation of just $3 to $5 is all we ask. And again, through doing that, it also gets you your shifter booster kit, which again comes with your now laminated free hug signs, which will last you forever, and a bunch of shift buttons that have the Paradigm Shift Central website on the rim and are meant to be shared and gifted to people and used to hack the matrix and build conscious community where you are. So we currently are aiming for 10 new Patreon signups every month. And at this point for September, we currently have, it's 6 or 7 current signups for September. So if you would like to help us reach our goal of 10 new signups for September, then please feel free to follow the Patreon link and sign up either sooner or later, whenever you can. And it's greatly appreciated, guys. So much love again to everyone for signing up and for just their ongoing support. So okay, so here's and again on the website you can just scroll down to the bottom of any page and you'll see the link for the Patreon. It's also known as the monthly support squad. So, and it's in the info for the videos and all that. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Okay, so this is a post by a friend of mine called Tom Akamesis, and he's in London, UK. And he's been doing a lot of work with consciousness and community, and a lot of work, obviously, with like OBEs and intentional OBEs as well. And he uses like a lot of interesting devices that he's been making over the years to be able to help assist him in his practice. So here's a little write-up that he put of his experience. And I'll post a link in the show notes for this. Every now and again, I seem to touch the extraordinary with out-of-body exploration practice. A few nights ago, I had the spa all to myself, so I decided to pull an all-night practice session. I started off with some pranayamic yoga breathing and energy body stimulation. After a short break, I necked a very large mug of mugwort tea, then settled into my favorite zero-gravity chair to drift off into the known and unknown of the multidimensional expanse. So again, you can see he's like got like a gravity chair, he's got his mugwort, and before any of that, he was doing like the yoga practices. So I think that's a great tip in itself. You know, before going to bed, see what happens when you sort of stimulate the body through like doing basic yoga and pranayamic breathing, which is again, you know, breathing that's meant to sort of stimulate the energy body. After an initial 3-hour sleep period, I woke from a non-lucid dream where I dreamed about having an out-of-body experience, which is typical sign of astral memories not properly being stored in our real-time consciousness after an astral projection experience. After recording the experience in my journal, I downed a potion of essential oils before starting my first 3-hour OBE practice session with an OBE mantra and more energy work. And again, OBE is out-of-body experience. An hour or so into practice, I enjoyed 2 short lucid dreams with several vivid non-lucid dreams. The mugwort, also known as wormwood, was working a charm as expected when its dream assist properties. After recording these experiences in my journal, I began my final 3-hour practice session, which is when the extraordinary happened. At some point during my practice, I clicked out of conscious awareness, but clicked back into conscious awareness again with a very distinct energy body sensation. After focusing on these feelings, I formed a very focused intention to experience a real-time zone exit into the near-Earth plane, as I have some research to conclude before publishing my first book later this year. As I focused on my intention, I soon felt a strong lifting sensation and then experienced a blur of bright light before finding myself standing in a very real body, in a very real place, which had a familiarity about it. After stabilizing my awareness by rubbing my very solid hands together vigorously, my attention was grabbed by a man standing in a doorway of a similar looking building. It then hit me. I was sensing the energy of Old Street in London, where the spa is located. I also intuited that this was a counterpart of London on the intermediate levels just beyond the Earth plane. My intuition was also directing me to approach the man in the doorway. Walking towards the man, I felt a deep sense of melancholy being projected outwards from his emotional body. The negative effect of the man's unbalanced emotional energy of the surrounding space was very evident from my out-of-body practices, which really brought home the concept of taking 100% responsibility for all of our thoughts and feelings. Because in an interconnected reality where all minds are joined, our dark emotional energies can have a tangible effect on the emotional states of others around us. Standing just a few feet away from the man, I could sense he was totally oblivious to my presence, as well as the fact that he was wandering around in the ethers in an unconscious out-of-body experience, or the double life state, as I like to refer to it as. As I stood observing the man, I had a strong feeling I was guided here, and an even stronger sense I was being awakened by an unseen presence to apply my spirituality to this situation. I hold the belief that if something that is not to love shows up in your life, then the universe is asking you to take responsibility for the situation by giving the only thing missing from that situation: unconditional love. That's a really powerful idea right there. I'm just going to reread that part again. I hold the belief that if something that is not of love shows up in our life, then the universe is asking you to take responsibility for the situation by giving the only thing missing from that such situation: unconditional love. As such, I opened my heart to the man and started giving love in the form of the Ho'oponopono, a Hawaiian practice of reconciliation and forgiveness. After repeating "I'm sorry, I love you" again and again in my mind, while holding the energy of mercy and self-forgiveness in my energy body, the man suddenly looked up at me with surprise. "Who are you?" he asked. "A stranger who cares enough to send you love in hard times," I said. His energy lightened as he absorbed my energy-infused words. I smiled and waved goodbye before making a swift return to my body. As I relaxed in this hypoponic state, the man's face flashed in my mind's eye. A moment later, a name and a logo appeared. I immediately wrote down the name and drew the logo in my journal. Later in the day, I did a Google search and found the CEO of a company based here in Old Street that matches the information. I decided the information was validation enough, and not only a call to get in touch with him, I've decided the information was validation enough and not a call to get in touch with him in the physical. LOL. So again, so basically in that sense, in the initial part, he's just talking about like his preparation for setting up for this OBE practice, which again, I think is really cool when we can do that. If we have like a spare time on a day to see what can happen when we just practice dreaming, when we practice meditating for a while. But again, you know, he's talking about having this out of body experience where he saw another person within this astral plane, this like sort of like parallel version of the earth plane, who perhaps was even unconsciously sort of sleepwalking within their dream state, and at that point they were kind of going through their own turmoils, and he, as another conscious entity within this shared plane, was actually able to project his unconditional love and share that with them to like extend that feeling to had a reaction to it. So yeah, and again, the fact that it kind of ends with him actually being able to recognize a name and a logo, and then he double checked it, and then he had validation of that matching. That's some like pretty amazing stuff. And again, you know, that's basically in terms of like astral projection, that's like right up there with like the concept of remote viewing, where you're literally able to, outside of the physical body, go and travel places and gain information about actual real world locations, and be able to validate that in some way or another. So yeah, that's a story there from Todd Akamesis, and I'll post this link into the show notes. Is TODD space ACAMESIS. Feel free to connect with them. They've got a lot of awesome stuff that they're working on. So just want to give a shout out to Todd for all the work he's doing. And again, just leading by example to show what can be possible once we kind of tap into that state. And no doubt it takes work, but what happens when more of us are actually able to do that? What happens when during the dream state at night, more of us are actually able to actually intentionally help heal or assist with the healing of others, you know, within the earth plane. And I know a lot of my friends, some of my friends have talked about this, how like during their dreams, they'll actually spend a lot of their time like encoding intentions into the grid of the earth. They'll do what they refer to as grid work, which is crazy because, you know, like they'll get lucid and then they'll like travel, like fly above like the earth plane, and then they'll like see the grid, and then they'll like be doing work on it. They'll be like putting intention into it through the projection of unconditional love, which again sounds like just like a out there idea, but for those who experience it, you know, they'll explain to you that it's quite valid and it's quite real. And the question is, you know, how much of a difference is that actually making? But the real question is, you know, like how much difference would that make if more and more of us were actually able to do it? So yeah, just some powerful ideas there. So just kind of opening up the discussion there, if anybody has any sort of comments, or what are your guys' thoughts on out-of-body experiences? Has anybody here had any out-of-body experiences, or anybody have any like sort of similar parallels with Todd, where you like might have seen something in a dream, or seen a symbol, or seen a person in a dream, and then you like validated their existence within the physical or anything like that? If anybody wants to take the microphone, again, just giving me a second to catch my breath, and I'll let you guys jump in with some you guys want to share within the dream class circle. So does anybody want to jump in at this point? Just let me know. I'm not sure if Sean wants to jump in, but I know he's in there too. So yeah, again, guys, I apologize. I'm getting pretty tired, so we're gonna have to wrap up this broadcast pretty soon, so we can all get to sleep. Yay! But yeah, what about just a general question, guys? What are your guys' thoughts on like out of body experiences? Who here has had an out of body experience? If you guys want to be able to just talk about that real quick. So if anybody wants to, I'm not sure if Hector, if you're there, I think I saw your microphone open. I'm not sure if there's something that you want to jump in with. Hector, do you want to, yeah, did you want to add something?
Yeah, totally. So wait, hold on. There you go. So with the out of body experience,
There we go.
Can you guys hear me?
You're good. Go ahead. Yeah, it's good.
Cool. Well, there's people that do it when they're awake, when they're willingly wanting to do it, and there's the people that do it accidentally when they're sleeping or meditating. Um, Either way, if that were to happen, it's very important to pay attention to what's going on and what you are feeling at the moment, whether it's fear or curiosity or love or any of those. Um, you have to be very mindful of what's going on and how we're feeling when we're experiencing those moments, because they don't happen often unless we practice them. And when they do happen, um, I believe that it's more than likely a sign from either our higher self, our guides, our angels, or our subconscious that's trying to tell us something or trying to make us become aware of something that's going on around us that we're not necessarily paying attention to in our physical state. So I've never had an out of body experience um, directly like that. I do remember and recall ones when this was probably about 15 years ago, when I had a tooth pulled, and um, early in the morning, and I went home, slept, and while I was sleeping it off, all the pain, there was a point where I thought I was awake, and I remember getting up out of bed and walking around my house, and everything seemed weird and different. The lighting was off. It just didn't feel like I was fully awake, but I thought I was. And then I remember I used to have this picture hanging up on my wall of death, um, which in Hispanic cultures is Saint Death, which is a guardian angel essentially who's there to help you and take care of you in ways that you ask. But throughout that time, I remember I kept seeing that picture hanging up on my wall everywhere I walked. So if I were to walk out of my bedroom, I would see it on the hallway. And then once I got to the kitchen, I would see the same picture hanging up on the wall. So I'm not sure. And that was a long time ago before I was fully awake. I wasn't even starting to awake, I don't think, when that happened. But that was a very intense experience. Um, Waking up but not really waking up, and then walking around my own house, and then seeing things, and then seeing that picture over and over and over again. Um, it was just something that always stuck to me, and it still has to this day. And that was easily about 15 years ago when that happened. But it was such a powerful feeling of waking up at night and walking around, and then when I finally, it was interesting because when I finally realized that I was sleeping, I saw myself laying down, and that's what actually woke me up. When it actually brought me out of that experience was seeing myself laying there, and it just kind of threw me off. Like, wait a minute, I thought I was, walking around, and actually I'm right there. So it was just a very interesting experience, and I wish I could remember it better now that I'm a lot more awake than I was then, and kind of just think about that and kind of think about what that meant. And I should probably meditate on that at some point. But that's just an interesting experience that I had a while ago. I'm not sure if that qualifies as an out of body experience or something else, but it was definitely interesting. It was very powerful. The images, the lighting, the symbolism behind it was all very powerful. And at that time, um, I just wasn't awake enough to even think about it and think about what that really meant and put much thought into it. However, now in hindsight, um, it's interesting. It's just interesting to actually think about that memory now and see what it brings up. But that is my only experience with out of body experiences, and it was really interesting. I wish I could go back and practice that again and focus on that. But that's a topic and a practice that I'm very curious about. I've talked to many people that do it and practice it, and it's such a to them it's such a relieving feeling being able to escape your physical self consciously, and then take your take that self and do whatever you want with it and explore different ideas, different realms, different thoughts. It's definitely interesting, and that's needs to be discussed more for sure.
Totally, man. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, I'd be curious to talk a little bit more about like out of body experiences and stuff. Hector, I mean, again, admitting that like you haven't had too many experiences, but are there any techniques or anything that you might be aware of for how one might be able to work towards being able to experience an out of body experience, or if that's something that you can recall?
I think being just, you know, I think just being present and being mindful and being aware. I think being mindful on a daily basis helps a lot with that, because being mindful helps you connect with yourself and everything else around you as well. You're paying attention to everything and everyone around you. You're paying attention to yourself, to your breathing, to your emotions, to what's going on. And if you practice that on a daily basis, that might be easier, I think, to trigger that state of mind to where you want to, you know, willingly and consciously have an experience like that. And I think mindfulness might play a big part in that. Other than that, meditation, I'm sure, has a big part in achieving OBE. You know, just because meditation just helps you connect with yourself in many ways that we can't do it when we're consciously awake. So I think meditation and just mindfulness, having the right state of mind, probably having a proper nutrition that's not messing you up internally and having you think about other things that are going on with you. I think a combination of all those things probably helps accelerate you experiencing those things at will, instead of just under, you know, stress or anything like that.
Totally. Yeah, and again, you know, like in terms of like out of body experiences, if people are interested in just like in general, like a lot of like really cool information about dream practices and stuff like that, I'd like to direct you guys to a friend of ours on YouTube, Ryan Cooper, and you can check him out. I'm just trying to see if I can pull up the YouTube link simultaneously here. But it's Ryan, and then Cooper is our sorry, I'm just gonna double check real quick. Yeah, sorry, Ryan Cropper, not Cooper. Ryan Cropper, and his last name is Cropper, so Ryan Cropper. Look him up on YouTube. He's got a lot of stuff. He's been on Dream Class back in the past, but he's like got a lot of really good YouTube videos with some good techniques for practicing and experiencing lucid dreams and out of body experiences. And honestly, I mean, again, guys, like with so much stuff there is to explore on a daily basis, his stuff is just one of the things that I want to be able to make a habit of going and exploring a little bit more of. But we'll also be featuring more of it through the Paradigm Shift Central Facebook page as well, and we'll add it into the new videos on the playlist on the main website under new videos. But one of the techniques that I can just kind of put out there, guys, for out-of-body experiences is just a basic visualization technique where, again, you know, part of what you want to be able to experience to help initiate an out-of-body experience is to be able to fall asleep, to keep your mind awake as your body falls asleep. And so, I mean, there's a few ways to get into that, and I'm not just going to get into that right now, but one thing I was going to recommend is that just try this. As you're falling asleep, next time you're falling asleep, imagine like a rope hanging above your body, and then imagine your astral body, your astral limbs, reaching and grabbing onto this rope, and then like slowly just like grabbing onto this rope and like pulling yourself up out of your body. And just kind of like work with that visualization and that imagination and just kind of see where that may even lead you at some point. I know I've had some success with that practice a little bit in the past, but again, guys, you know, a big part of this broadcast is like I want to be able to get more into a lot of these practices myself, and it's not to say I haven't. It's, you know, with dreams and everything like that, it always seems to kind of come and go, and sometimes our dreams will be really active, and sometimes we'll be more focused on our physical day-to-day lives and things like that. And it's about finding a balance. And you know, I think there's a lot that can be take into consideration when just kind of creating the balance for us to be able to work with this delicate practice in the first place. But definitely it takes a little bit of willpower and discipline and intention to be able to create, as I said, to create the environment for us to be able to practice these things in the first place. So, but again, writing down your dreams, paying attention to doing meditation throughout a normal waking state, and doing reality checks, and then of course paying attention to diet, paying attention to sexual energy, paying attention to sleep patterns, paying attention to cannabis use has a great impact on dream recall in the first place. And even just paying attention to even like cycles, like astrological and moon cycles and things like that. All these are subtle things that will play a role within our dream states. So, guys, I want to be able to just open up the talking stick just for any other topics that you guys might want to discuss before we move into a closing meditation, and then we're going to wrap up this broadcast. Maybe Sean, I don't know if you're there. I'm just going to try bringing up your mic, and because I was just seeing you commenting in the chat, and if not, I'll just answer the chat. But if your mic works, we're just going to double check that. Sean, do you want to just try your mic? I guess you don't have one, or maybe you do. I don't know.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, no, that sounds perfect, man. That sounds fine. So yeah, that's cool. Sweet. Sean, yeah, no, if you're up for it, I'll pass the talking stick over to you, and you can maybe just talk a little bit about what you're going to talk about that you had in the chat that you're referencing.
Alrighty. He doesn't share like a little experience. If something that can help with visualizing dreams and slipping into the dream state while you're still aware, consciously aware. It's the word hypnagogic. Got some pretty good experiences with that, doing flotation tanks for a while. I would start to, after like a couple of weeks doing flotation tank like once a week, it started to be where when I would go to sleep, I would start to slip into the dream, but I'd still be awake. So I would see the dream starting and forming as I went into the dream. And yeah, so that stuff you were reading from the book earlier was some pretty good information. It's definitely a lot of how much you can calm yourself in your waking state. It definitely connects you to your dream state. Others. Oh yeah, with the you've definitely gone out of body. It's pretty creepy first couple times, and then I know I got kind of bored with it because I didn't really know where to go or what to do. So I was like, all right, that was cool. I guess I don't know. It's kind of. You can definitely tell when you do it because you can go into another room, and then when you wake up, you can see what was going on in the other room. It's pretty funny.
And what do you, in your comments, you were talking about running into seeing your parallel self is within parallel dimensions. Is that too much?
Yeah, no, it's not too much. So yeah, you could be just dreaming a dream, or you could be experiencing other dimensions. Like, you think of it like there's dimensions going on this plane, like outward, and then there's other dimensions going up, and there's other dimensions going down, frequency-wise, not like physical. Well, sometimes physically too. It's a lot. It's a lot. So you could be experiencing other versions of you in these other dimensions, and like checking out what they're doing, what they're up to, kind of live through them a little bit. And notice almost kind of same thing can happen to you. Other you experiencing your waking life and if being able to affect you and your thoughts and things when you match up with them frequency wise enough. Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a
I
lot.
think I can hear somebody else talking, but I'm not sure.
I think it's okay. Here, I'll just ask you this, because again, we're getting close to wrapping up. Any practical tips that you might be able to just pass on real quick for people who are interested in dream practice? Just like a couple practical tips.
Lucid dreaming. Oh, just practical tips. Oh yeah. Yeah, the lucid dreaming was a lot clearer, or the hypnagogic, like sliding into the dream while conscious, was a lot clearer the cleaner I was eating. So I was eating like super clean for mixed martial arts fighting preparation. And I noticed like once I started eating unhealthy again with stuff that has, a lot of processed whatever in it, not non-natural foods. I mean, I was eating meat too, just like not much, very, very little. But as soon as I started adding the processed foods back in, everything started getting foggier again. It was harder to remember what was going on, harder to operate in the dream. But it was definitely super, super clear when I was eating really, really clean. But it's hard to eat super clean sometimes. And then as soon as you start getting the processed food back in, you start craving it again. But yeah, that was one thing. If you smoke, that makes it hard to dream too. That can definitely knock out your dream state. I'll share a weird thing I found early on when I started playing around with lucid dreaming and testing it out. Realized I could escape a nightmare or a dream situation that I didn't like by imagining that like I was rotating really, really fast, like super fast vortex. And I don't know, I guess maybe generating the feeling of spinning super, super fast, and kind of like maybe would get my energy spinning faster, and I would just wake up. It was pretty interesting. I used that for a little while early on before I was fully able to start lucid dreaming, when things were getting weird and could actually just change the dream or fly away or control stuff. Yeah, I'll say there's a lot of levels with dreaming. I'll go through some very interesting lessons, and you start to get like, I don't know, trained while you're dreaming, trained in different things. It's yeah, the dreams get pretty deep over the years. I think a lot of people are going to start having a lot more interesting dreams as more people wake up and more people are able to calm their mind better, find these like different practices that help them calm their mind. Um, Other than that, oh yeah, also playing around with out of body experiences. It gets pretty creepy in the beginning. There's a couple times where every time I try to take a nap during the day, I would have sleep paralysis, and that lasted like a couple days, and that was pretty creepy. But I think over time you start to like control things better. I don't know, you're able to like figure out how to lighten your body while you're asleep a little better. Like I said, it's a lot of levels and stages of learning. There's a lot of different types of dreams, a lot of different types of dreams, and like I think like the flying started out when I was probably in my early teens. I started doing these like long jumps in my dreams, and then eventually it starts turning to flying, and then you start trying to fly faster, and you start controlling things. It really took off when I started doing my qigong practice. Probably like just like you're saying with the book you're reading. Uh, Once I started relaxing my mind on like a higher level, in my waking state, the dreams definitely took off into a completely different direction of just regular dreams. All sorts of crazy stuff starts happening. Other than that, I don't really have anything else planned to say. I don't want to get
That's
too
cool.
much into anything. Like, I don't want to. Sometimes I don't want to say too much because it's better that people experience stuff themselves and like figure things out themselves too. But it definitely helps to know what the heck's going on sometimes when things get weird. Sleep, because things can get really weird in some of these dimensions. Oh yeah, one last good one is clearing your mind right before you go to sleep will help your dreams out a lot. Like, go to sleep with a bunch of stuff in your mind, and your dreams end up being pretty crazy. But yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, those some great ideas and suggestions there. And yeah, and totally, like the last one you're talking about there about clearing your mind before going to bed. One of the tips that it actually talks about in the Dream Yoga book, it alluded to it in some of the stuff that we read, but is the process of just like retrospective analysis of events and how that can actually be a useful thing to develop as a practice. So basically, one
huge.
thing, yeah. So
totally.
So
right.
for anybody just kind of looking for some basic techniques, before going to bed at night, try this as a practice. Like, sit down and meditate and try and think about everything that you can remember throughout your day, going backwards from you like meditating at that moment. So it's just like, like you're there meditating, and then it's before you're there, you were like in the kitchen getting water, and then before that you were like doing other stuff, you were doing chores, and before that you were like walking your dog, and you had dinner, and you had lunch, and you're working, and with as much detail as possible, all the way to the start of your day. I mean, even further if you choose to, and just do that just as a practice. And if you can do that like once a day, like even just, again, you're just kind of like while lying in bed and as you're kind of going to sleep, just kind of do that, because that practice of retrospective recall will play into your dream recall as well, where again, you wake up from a dream and it's like, oh, I remember this, and then I remember this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And it's kind of, once you build that momentum, it continues to kind of unlock the additional information and memories that we have through those experiences. Because again, equally as within our waking state, even if we don't remember something, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen. So even within the dream state, if we don't remember it, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. But the good news is that what happens if we do remember it, and how do we remember it? And sometimes we just have to kind of create that momentum for being able to remember. So I mean, it's like, yeah, you gotta kind of like create that path backwards through your dreams in order to be able to access some of the parts that would theoretically almost get like left behind. But yeah, so just putting that out, the retrospection, that's a simple practice to bring in, and obviously that will benefit way beyond just dream practice. So that's cool. Okay, cool. So again, guys, for everybody listening to this, dreams are an infinitely complex topic. Keep doing your own research. Keep doing, go watch YouTube videos, go read some books, go write down your dreams, go do your own practices. There's really just like an infinite amount of things to explore. But the great thing is that a core part of it is your own direct experience. Like I said, only you can know your own dreams. Only you can awaken your own consciousness. So it's a very exciting thing. And again, as you continue to investigate your dreams, the universe definitely seems to respond to that. And if you're putting forth the intention to say like, hey, I want to explore my consciousness and I want to explore dreams, don't be surprised if like more dreams start just like naturally coming to you. Because I feel, for someone who's kind of like asleep within their waking state, it's common for their dreams to continuously be like relatively mundane. But equally so, as if that person like starts to wake up and stuff like that, it's very interesting to think about how there's like the higher parts of ourselves that are in some ways almost like the director of our dreams, that are choosing which dreams we experience on a nightly basis. So it's not just you. There's multiple layers to yourself, and that is like part of what's coming through within the dream experience process. At least that's one way that I would try to explain it. So something like that. But yeah, so let's just kind of again open up the talking circle. Does anybody else have any closing ideas and comments before we just get into this last little meditation to wrap up the class? And it will be a short meditation. Hector, I'll just check in with you if there's something else you just want to add. Let me just pull up your microphone. And thanks,
Yeah.
Sean. Go ahead, Hector.
Cool. I just wanted to comment on something that Sean said. I'm not sure if I heard him right or not, but he was saying something about what dreams would be like if more people were awake and more people were on the same page. It just got me thinking, what would it be like, really? You know, if more people were awake and if more people had better head on their shoulders and better thought process about life, I wonder what that would do to our dream state. Because, you know, I believe that our consciousness is all interconnected with everybody else's, right? There's that Christ consciousness that we're all a part of. And even Deepak Chopra calls it a consciousness soup, which we're all eating from and nourishing from. So I wonder if we can contribute to that, if there is, you know, if we have a better thought process and a better mind and a better way of thinking. I wonder if that affects, you know, our dreams on a global level, on a community level. I wonder if all of us having, you know, similar ways of thinking, and we go to sleep late at night, we have similar dreams, and they're all get mixed in together in this ether that we all don't exist in the physical, but in the spiritual. That just got me thinking, and I thought that was a really cool comment that he made, and I wanted to follow up on that. It's just a interesting idea and perspective of that. You know, if we can affect and affect our own dreams, maybe we can do the same thing to other people's, just by existing and being better people, and, you know, leading our lives with the one emotion of love instead of everything else. I wonder if that affects our, you know, our conscious dream state that we are all a part of. I wonder if we can all affect that and change it to where the dreams are different, or maybe not. You know, maybe it really isn't that way. Maybe it's just everybody has their own universe within them, and then when we dream, it's just our own reality that we are creating outside of us. And that's what all we do. It is just hours and hours only, because it comes from our own mind and not in this consciousness soup that exists out there. So it's an interesting topic now that I think about it, now that I discuss it further. Yeah, as you know, can we, you know, change our way of thinking to the point to where we change the way we dream, or is it just not the way? Does it not happen that way? Is it just, do we control our own dreams and our own other realities? You know, just something to think about, I guess. But that was a really cool comment that Sean made there. It was really cool, and to ponder on that some more. So thanks, Sean.
Cool. Thanks, Hector, and thanks, Sean, as well. And yeah, again, you know, I think that's a really interesting idea, is that, like, as we work on our dreams, that allows, like, more of the more, like, consciousness to kind of come into this dream, or it allows more people to access, like, other parts of the bigger narrative within their dreams and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting idea. And, you know, for me, just one thing I would kind of just comes to mind is that if you were to think back to, like, an Aboriginal tribe, and how they would be, you know, they would talk about the dream time, and there was well aware to them that it was a shared space, and how perhaps, like, even in then, you know, like, what the dreams would be like within a small community. So, I mean, not just the global community, but literally, like, a community of 30, 50 people and stuff like that, right? Like, would literally, you know, like, would a young man's dream literally in some ways have, like, a a cause and effect that would influence the rest of the community's dream, or would the young man's dream be impacted by like an elder female shaman who was having their own dream, who perhaps might have been conscious in the dream, and like weaving in like certain patterns and ideas and stuff like that. So it's really interesting. I mean, there's just so much to explore, and yeah, just keep asking questions, I think, is the important part. So cool. Okay, guys. Just again, I just want to thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. And again, just just reading Cola's comment just in the chat, and they're just saying, my thought in this is it's hard to get started in this because y'all are adults, and it feels like I'm an infant in some ways. It's never too late to expand your consciousness, I would say, and just because a lot of us weren't introduced to a lot of these topics related to dream exploration and dream sciences and esoteric sciences, it's never too late. And again, I think a big part of it is just like honoring where you're at, and just like putting forth that intention, and then just kind of being able to have that attitude of gratitude for whatever comes your way, and that in turn kind of opens you up to more experiences, and keeping it simple by writing down your dreams as best as you can, even just with point form notes, and just kind of seeing where that takes you. And again, using the collective momentum of a community to be able to help keep all of us in sync with our intentions of practicing these dream practices. So I mean, part of the idea is that we'll do a dream class here, and then we'll come back in a little bit, and we'll have another dream class, and we'll see how things have shifted, how we've continued to open ourselves to new experiences, and we'll come back with like stories of OBEs or lucid dreams and new things that we've witnessed within the dream space. Because again, there's things that are happening within the dream space that are worth acknowledging, and they're worth sharing as a form of documentation. For an example, I've had like a bunch of like UFO sightings within my dreams, so to speak, and one that I had from a while back. I'm not sure if this was even before the last dream class, if I mentioned it or not, but I remember seeing like this like UFO that was like, and I'll just explain this real quick, and we'll get into our closing meditation. But it was like, to me visually, it was like this like giant, it looked like a giant disc that looked like a yin yang, and it was like floating through the sky, and it was like emitting this rainbow around it. So it was like a circular rainbow that was just like exploding off of it in colors. And that was just something that just kind of like stood out to me. And again, like I've definitely been able to like recall pretty consistently aspects of my dreams here and there. And again, a lot of them are also like personal. It's not necessarily things that I feel like I need to share like necessarily within a broadcast. And I think that's fine for all of us to recognize, is that just because you have a dream, even if you have a dream of another person, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go and tell them or anything. Dreams are a very, very personal thing. So just kind of like sit with them, meditate, reflect on how it feels, and don't expect to necessarily have all the answers right away. But over time, perhaps like those dreams will allude to a future reality that will allow the dream of the past to even have more value to it, or even make more sense. So yeah, just double checking. Was there anybody else who wants to share anything at this point before we get into the closing meditation? And thank you guys again for tuning in and sticking it out, especially those of you listening in the future to the full recording. Much appreciated to everyone for being a part of this. So just double checking, is there anything, Hector, was there anything else you wanted to add before we move into the closing meditation?
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
I just want to remind you guys again that I will be at the Pagan Pride Festival in Reno Sparks, Nevada this weekend, and I will be, handing out buttons and promoting my business, Chakra Tree Reiki, as well as Paradigm Shift Central Reno. And I really want to say thanks to all of you for coming on here and then sharing your experiences and your thoughts. And it really does help having stuff like this put on, because it does put it out there into the universe that we're all interconnected, we're all here as one, and there's no reason for us to be separate in any way. So having things like this, I think, is really helpful, and just you know, even if it's just an audience of 10 or 20, you know, like you say yourself, that just creates a ripple, and it just grows and grows and grows and grows. So out of this audience of 10 or 20, you know, if we get one extra listener or somebody who's just slightly intrigued, that's awesome. That's all that there is, because that extra one person is going to tell at least one other person about it, and so on and so on and so on. So this is really cool. Can't wait for the next live chat, and thanks for everybody joining, and thank you, Brendon, for hosting this. It's really cool.
Awesome. Sweet. Thank you, Hector, as well, and shout out to you and all the family and friends where you are. So awesome.
Also, I just want to mention it's not just going to be me at the Pagan Pride. My wife Katie is going to be there as well, and she's here, you know, with me along for the ride, and she's helping me out big time, and she helps me take care of the things that I can't take care of while I'm incapable of. So we'll both be there, and we're both going to be documenting the whole thing at the Pride Festival or the Pagan Pride Festival next year, or next week. So yeah, well, hopefully I'll have some footage or some pictures or something.
Cool.
And then I can help contribute that to your website, and you know, maybe some people can get more involved in it just by showing little bits and pieces of our lives.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And again, you know, like when we're talking about documenting dreams, you know, it's when we're talking about documenting this waking state and creating things like quest journals and stuff like that, they're equally as valuable, because, you know, those stories invite people to live their own stories, and to realize again, you know, like, hey, I can do that too. I can do that where I am too. And yeah, I can write down my dreams too. I can do this too. It's all accessible. It's very simple. And again, you know, just having the community to keep carrying that shared momentum is what makes it really powerful, because that's what allows the story to continue much longer. It's not just a flash in the pan. We're building a kingdom here together, brick by brick. So every brick counts. So thank you to all those who bring their bricks and lay them together. So cool. Okay, guys. Thank you again. Let's just move into a closing meditation, guys. This is again just going to be a short closing meditation, so I just invite you guys to get nice and comfortable. Literally, just like maybe even less than 10 minutes, I would say, no more than 10 minutes. So again, what we do with this meditation, we've done it before, is that within dream class, within the dream class discussion, we have the idea of shared dream space, and that's something, you know, as a potential of what dreams can hold for a community. You know, like, let's say we're talking here online, and let's say it's like in the future and everyone's able to actively lucid dream every night, and then we're just like, okay, so we've done hanging out online on the internet, let's go hang out on the internet, the inner dream space network that connects us. And one of the ways how we would do that is by arranging a place to meet. It's very simple, right? So if you're going to meet, you just need a place to meet. So again, what we're doing here is we're working around the idea of the dream tree. And so if you give me 1 second, I'm just going to pull up the image that we use as the promo image for dream classes, that we modify it a little bit from week to week, from class to class. And this is kind of like the visualization that we want to work with. So for those who aren't familiar, I'm just going to pull up a screen share real quick, and then you're going to see that on the YouTube. For those of you who aren't on the YouTube, just imagine the promo image, which again is a tree out in the middle of a field, and then of course you got this this character who's standing on this checkerboard with the pillars, and then you have the paradigm shift sigil floating above the tree. So again, that paradigm shift sigil is very much the heart of the tree. It is the portal that brings us together, that amplifies and sends out the signals as well. And we'll talk more about the paradigm shift sigil and how that ties into the future of dream class as well, as we continue to keep moving forward. But yeah, so basically what we're going to do here, we're just going to do a simple meditation. We're going to bring ourselves to the presence of the dream tree. We're going to add our intention into it, add our love to it, encode it, crystallize it a little bit more, and then just work with that visualization, sit there for a minute, and then we'll just conclude the meditation, and we'll come back and we'll conclude the broadcast. And then again, the idea from there is to even try thinking about the concept of the dream tree when you're falling asleep next time or throughout the day, and just think about it. And again, you know, that's the thing within dreams, is that where you go, you know, like as where attention goes, energy flows. So if you're really in that space where you're kind of peeling back the layers and you think about the dream tree, you can literally go there. You know, if you think about the pyramids, you can teleport there. If you think about, you know, anywhere, you can get there. And so this is just another place. By meditating on it now, it allows us to lay out that path for us to walk upon, for us to follow within our dream space. So again, guys, just inviting you guys to get nice and comfortable, and we'll just do a very short meditation. I'm just practicing being present here and now. So just allow you guys to relax your body. Just find a place where you can move into a place of stillness. That's very important. So you're just trying to not be in a place where you'll be fidgeting. So just allow yourself to find a place of stillness. So at this point, just relaxing your body, just wiggling your shoulders a little bit, straightening up your spine as someone's pulling a string from the top of your head, just a little bit. Good. And so from here, let us just connect with the breath. So gentle inhales through the nose, and gentle exhales through the nose or the mouth. And again, gentle inhales, and gentle exhales through the nose or the mouth. So just allow yourself to find the rhythm of your breath, allowing our breath to be the constant. And so as we feel the inhale meeting the exhale meeting the inhale, let us slowly just relax our body a little bit more. So we'll just bring our awareness to our feet, to our shins, and to our knees. Just gently relax our feet, our shins, and our knees simply by bringing our focus to them. Good. Continuing to breathe, bring our awareness up to our thighs, our hips, into our groin. Just allowing our thighs, our hips, and our groins to relax. And bring our awareness up to our torso, up to our chest, and even our back, our lower back. Just allow our torso, our hips, our chest, and our back and lower back to relax. And bring awareness to our shoulders, to our arms, our forearms, to our hands. And just allowing our shoulders, our forearms, our hands to gently relax. And bring awareness up to our neck, to our jaw. Allow our jaw and our neck to relax. And just allowing just our cheeks, our nose, our eyes, and our forehead, our ears, and the rest of our head to just gently relax. Wonderful. So from here, let us continue to connect with our breath. So just take a moment here, just in your own silence, just connect just with your breath before we go into the visualization. So just without even visualizing anything intentionally, just connect with the feeling of your breath here as you're relaxed. So just breathe right here. So continuing to allow the breath to be present. Begin to visualize in your mind's eye with your imagination the tree off in the distance. And so you see the tree and it has its own glow to it, its own illumination, a bright tree, to use Hector's idea. And above this tree, you see the paradigm shift sigil floating above it, almost just as a form of light in itself, an energy, a portal. And you just connect with your breath as you feel this portal, this tree calling you towards it. And so taking a moment here to connect with your senses, and you can imagine yourself slowly beginning to even float towards this tree, visualizing the landscape around it, the grass, even the sky, perhaps being able to see the stars, even though it is bright out in its own way. And so just feeling the pull to this tree, and as you come closer, beginning to visualize and seeing other people sitting around it, other people already present at it, as if there's a constant meeting, a constant community, a constant celebration and festival happening around this tree. So you see people talking, you see people even dancing or giving massages or doing yoga, just gathering here in this place with shared intention and vision. So allowing yourself to sink into the energy of this tree and what it represents, a place for like-minded people to gather, for like-minded souls to reunite, for us to return to the home within our heart. And so allow yourself to come closer to the tree, and as you do, visualizing placing your hands on the bark of it. And so this tree can be as big or as small as you want, as dynamic as you want to imagine it. And so as you put your hands on the tree, imagining, feeling the bark, feeling the energy of it, feeling the heartbeat within your own hands of your own heartbeat, but that of the tree as well. So just take a moment here, even visualizing yourself gently placing your forehead against the tree trunk. Even if you want, hugging the tree in some way. Just allowing yourself to not only breathe in the energy of the tree, but to also breathe out your own energy as you crystallize the essence of the tree with your love and with your intention. So with every breath that you stand next to the tree in present awareness, it allows the tree to crystallize and to become more formful, to allow it to take form within this dream, within this shared dream space. Knowing that this is more than just an imagination practice right now, but literally by us collectively thinking and visualizing this space, it brings it into realness. It brings it into actuality. And so as you imagine yourself with your connection to the tree, just visualizing and thinking about the roots deepening into the earth and the roots expanding into the sky, and symbolically what that represents to you, connecting into the roots, connecting into the sky, as above, so below. And just feeling the connection being drawn from both, and in turn, breathing that into your own heart. Good. So just take another moment here, just imagining yourself connecting with the tree in any way that you choose. Expressing gratitude, not only expressing gratitude for it, but also for community. Being able to in some way acknowledge the scene in 360 vision, acknowledging other people and what they're doing and what the tree helps bring together. So take a couple breaths here, just in your own silence, connecting with this tree and bringing in as much realness into your sensations, imagining yourself imagining it in the future as you begin to fall asleep or as you awaken within a dream. So be here in your breath for the next couple of breaths, for the next couple moments, connecting with the tree in your own way. Wonderful. And so from here, give the tree any more hugs that you choose to give it. And then when you are ready, you can gently position yourself near the tree in some sort of meditative posture, perhaps sitting down with your back against the tree, looking out into the horizon or looking up at the branches above you. And just allowing yourself to meditate within your meditation, to imagine yourself sitting and closing your eyes within your meditation. And as you do, feeling the energy of the tree supporting you, reminding yourself that this is a very real space and setting the intention to return back to it, giving yourself the direction to find this place again. Allowing yourself to breathe, feeling the tree within your heart still. And slowly, we'll begin to transition ourselves out of this meditation as we continue to imagine ourselves present at this space, knowing that there will always be a part of us that will be present at this dream tree, so that we can return there when the time is right for us, so that we can gather there as community in ways which we have yet to fully remember, yet are always infinitely present within the dream. So take another couple breaths here, just in your own silence. One more breath. Good. And so bringing forward with you gratitude from this meditation, a deeper connection to the dream tree, to the community, to the ongoing story as shifters, as light guardians, as dreamers, as cosmic citizens continuing to awaken to more of who they are and their potential to actively co-create within this ongoing story, within this ongoing dream. And slowly from here, begin to bring your awareness back to your physical body by slowly breathing and bringing your awareness to your toes and your fingers, and gently wiggle your toes and your fingers. And as you do, gently transitioning your awareness back. And when you're ready, slowly you can open your eyes and return your awareness to the space around you. Perfect. Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you again for being a part of this broadcast. So again, the intention behind that little meditation there is to just keep that visualization of the dream tree in mind, and you know, think about it before going to sleep, think about it during meditations. When you become lucid, bring yourself to the dream tree, see what happens when you can think about the dream tree. If you ever become lucid in a dream, try meditating within a dream. That can get very interesting. So we'll talk more about that in another future dream class. So I'll just double check with anybody who just wanted to share any final messages for the people listening to this, or just express any gratitude for this broadcast or for the community. Just opening up the microphones for you guys to do that. So Hector, did you guys want to say anything just before we close this off? I'll just double check with you guys. Thanks.
Just want to say thanks again for hosting this. This was a really cool first experience for me. I've been trying for a long time just to get, be a part of the video hangouts. I'm literally talking like a very long time since I started doing this. It's just, I was finally able to get to it and be a part of it, and it's really cool that you guys are still doing this and that you, Brendon, are still doing this. It's amazing that you have the heart that you do to continue doing this. So thank you, and thank all of you guys for being a part of this. It was really awesome. We had a good time. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Sweet. Thank you guys again. It's beautiful. Cool. All right. Yeah, again, guys, just double checking if there's anybody else who just wanted to say anything. Feel free to at this point. We're just about ready to wrap it up, so that's cool either way. So Sean, did you need to say anything? No, not forcing you to, but you can just say goodnight.
No, I'm good.
You're good.
Definitely good. I think I had to switch signals. I don't know if might be a little choppy now.
Okay. All good, man. All good.
man. All good.
Cool. All right. Okay. Thanks again, Sean. Okay, cool. All right, guys. So, yeah, if nobody else had anything to add, just again, giving a shout out to all of you who have tuned in. Shout out to those of you who have been participating in the YouTube chat. And yeah, just another reminder that there's ongoing broadcasts and you'll be able to sync up with those through the main website. Just be sure to create a profile if you haven't yet and check the calendar on the website. Reminder that we do have the next broadcast relative to this broadcast, which is going to be Thursday, and that's a Paradigm Shift Community admin meeting. So if you're looking to create physical Paradigm Shift community or just creating conscious events or want to learn more about leadership and in the Paradigm Shift, and be sure to sync up with that. And reminder that we have our shift team, our Paradigm Shift work periods on Mondays, and those are 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can just jump on the main website during those. So if you guys ever have any questions, just be sure to message me on the live chat. I'm always available there, and I'll be sure to respond to those as soon as I can. And again, thank you guys so much for tuning into this. Please feel free to share this broadcast with your friends, invite more people to tune in. And your shift mission is to keep working on your dreams, keep writing down your dreams as best as you can. See what can happen between now and next dream class, and continue to talk about dreams with your friends. Invite them into the conversations, ask them if they've ever heard about lucid dreaming or out-of-body experiences, and just see where that goes. You know, sometimes it's just about being a mirror and allowing people to be heard, and just allowing those conversations to take place. So thank you again to everyone for tuning into this. Thank you again to the Patreon supporters, and if you're enjoying what Paradigm Shift is about and you want to add your support to help us keep sharing this stuff with the community, and then check out the Patreon and add your support as a monthly micro contributor at patreon.com/Brendon Culleton. And yeah, with that said, if you haven't yet, subscribe to me on YouTube at youtube.com/SkullBabylon and facebook.com/SkullBabylon for more exciting shifty goodness there. So that's it, guys. Thank you again. Mission accomplished. Another very exciting, and always appreciate you guys joining me for these dream classes and co-creating them together. So for those of you who are tuned in live right now, and just for those of you here in the broadcast, let's just say goodnight to everyone tuning into this. So until next time, guys, join us again at ParadigmShiftCentral.com. So I'm just going to unmute your guys' microphone, and we'll just say goodnight and send some love to all the other dreamers out there. So good night, guys. Good night. So
good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night. All right, guys. Much love. Keep it shifty, and we'll see you in the future. Peace and wholeness. Keep on dreaming.